Two, one, go.
All right, everyone. Hello, my name. Ooh, my camera. Look at that. Look at that. Also, I don't think I activated my camera back on. We're off to a great start. Hello, everybody. My name is ozmourn, and today we're going to be speedrunning a lot of games. 5 of them specifically. If you're into games like Portal or like first-person puzzle platformers, we're going to be doing a lot of them back to back, starting off with the the one that I've been most obsessed with recently, known as Manifold Garden. And so Manifold Garden is has a lot of really unique mechanics in comparison to like a bunch of other first-person puzzle platformers that you've seen, in the sense that it focuses a lot less on the platforming aspect. And one thing that I'm actually going to show you before we go into the run is that there's like 2 things that you need to know. First off, we have this command, find f screenshot normal. The screenshot is just like print screen, and it's rebound to F on my keyboard for a very specific reason that we're going to be seeing, and I'll explain a little bit later what that is. And the second thing that I'm going to be doing is showing you that when you played this casually, if you've played this casually, you might realize that when you're changing gravity, it looks like that. That's probably the way that it looked in your casual playthrough. There's like a specific animation, and that's because you had S-curve turn on in your settings as the gravity change motion. That's like the default setting, and it's great for casual players, but it's a bit slow for the speedrun because you have to go through a whole animation every time that you change gravity. So instead, you have a gravity change motion known as instant. And as it implies, you instantly change gravity and immediately teleport to wherever it is that your crosshair is pointing. And that is what we're going to be using a lot throughout the speedrun. And I want to explain that because I know that when I first saw a speedrun of this, I barely knew what was going on, but maybe with that explanation as to why you're seeing just a bunch of jump cuts happen back to back to back, it may be a little bit more comprehensible. With that being said, we're going to go back to main menu, and then we're going to start a new run. This is reverse tree order. Essentially what it is that we're going to be collecting the god cubes in the game and planting them into their respective trees, but we're going to do that in reverse order because of wall clips in this game, which is a specific glitch that I'm going to get into. It allows us to essentially glitch to the end of the game and play the whole thing backwards. So we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. So as you can see, every time you change gravity, there's a specific color associated with like each plane of gravity in all 6 directions. And objects such as these cubes that are color coded, they only work if you're on the same plane of gravity as them, as well as these buttons. Right here, we're going to be doing a glitch known as wall clipping, and it's very simple. It's like, as the name implies, you clip through a wall. There's 2 parts to it. You clip yourself through the wall by essentially just pushing yourself against an object that you place down in front of you, like so. And the second part is that when you pick up an object and then you take a screenshot at the same time, you can clip the object through the wall with you. And that is exactly why we have screenshot rebound to F, because it's just a lot easier than like reaching across your keyboard in order to like take a screenshot and perform that glitch. And so you're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout the run because it's pretty much the reason why this category is possible. But as you can see here, in this tower, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, in this tower, everything is infinite in every direction, and that's going to be seen throughout the entire game. You can just keep falling, and the world will keep repeating itself. right here, we're going to be doing a lot of wall clips, and these particular wall clips are the most important because voila, we're like at the end of the game right now. The end of the game kind of connects with the beginning of the game through secret exits that you probably didn't see in your casual playthrough, and you have to go through like incredibly specific puzzles and areas in order to access like the end of the game from the beginning of the game. It's a very convoluted way casually, but you know, we can just glitch to the end because right here, this room, it is the final puzzle. We're going to take this cube off of this tree, and we're going to be planting it as a seed because these cubes also function in various different ways. You can use them to activate doors, you can use them to change the direction of water, as we're going to see in a bit, but you can also use them as seeds to plant another tree whenever you see a symbol like that on the ground. And like I just said, we're going to be using it to redirect the direction of the water, this depending on wherever the arrows are pointing. And so you want this one to be slightly to the left so that when you put it down, it'll activate a water wheel, and the water wheel will activate a laser that unlocks this dark cube. But instead of waiting for the animation to happen, you can just save and load. It'll when you load back into the game, the animation will have been done and the dark cube will have been opened. Like so. This dark cube, you cannot change gravity when you're using the dark cube. And if you let go of the dark cube for too long, it'll respawn you back to where the dark cube originally was. But you want to plant it into this tree. Each and every level has it. And in this tree, once you plant it, it'll show this beautiful little animation right here. They have a name to them, but I forgot what they're called. But they're incredibly, incredibly visually appealing. Just wonderful eye candy to look at in between every single section of the game. Shout outs to Bang Energy, by the way. And so right here, we're going to hold E, and we're just going to continue with the rest of the rainbow cube. The colors that we are going to be collecting are blue, red, green, yellow, purple, orange, and rainbow. That is the order that you're supposed to get them in the intended route. And it's also the order that you get them in all god cubes, which is this, which is like the normal version of this category. But instead, we're going to be getting them in reverse order. So we're going to be starting with rainbow and then ending with blue. And so this particular long staircase is usually where I'm just like, oh, you can read out donations like as the last big hoorah at the end of the marathon run. But in this particular case, it's like the first section that's just walking. And at the end of this section, you want to go and boom, place it right there. And you can go and finish the game right now, like roll credits. The exit is just back there where we were. But we do have other things to do. We have more things to collect. And so we're going to go backwards to where we came from. This time we're going to fall backwards. And typically your falling speed is faster than like your just regular going forward speed. And so, and your running speed. And so we're going to be falling anywhere that we can rather than just walking. We're going to be going back here to where we put this guy right here. We're going to be clipping back into this room and bringing this guy with us. Excuse me. There we go. Sometimes wall clips are a little finicky. If you don't get it first try, it's obvious. It's like something that doesn't really take a lot of time, and you can just repeat the mechanic over and over again. We're going to wall clip back into the beginning tower of the game through right here. And I want you to remember that cube. He's going to be a surprise, so that'll help us later. But instead, right here, we're going to be just changing gravity back to, excuse me, that's not where I wanted. Thank you. We're going to be using this cube that we used to enter the tower, and now we're going to be clipping into a secret room of the tower. Sometimes the game doesn't want to help, just doesn't want you to clip through like that. Yeah, sometimes it takes a bit. Just depending on how the game's feeling. We have like a semi-theory as to why sometimes it works instantly and other times it works like it takes a few tries to like clip in to a wall, but nothing that's really concrete. And so oftentimes we say that it's RNG or just whatever the game feels like giving you today. Because sometimes you can get that particular wall clip first try, and other times it takes as many times as you saw right there. Let's see right here. We're going to wall clip into here. This is another secret area that is accessible through a casual playthrough pretty early on, but only if you know where to look. And typically speaking, most people probably don't. But now we're going to be heading over to the orange God Cube, and you can access it pretty early through this particular area. you can access straight through the secret room that we just went through in the game. We're going to be wall clipping through that wall over there. Specifically, we're going to be wall clipping onto this particular window, because wall clipping in certain areas, while you can theoretically do it in most places, just wall clipping in certain windows is easier than others. We're walking through here. From this area, you can kind of access a lot of different god cubes, but specifically, we're going to the orange one right now, and it's actually right through this this door as you fall down. We're going to be taking the cube onto this tree, taking it with us, and wall clipping through this large door. It's actually quite a thick wall that we're going to be clipping through, but it's hollow on the inside, so you only have to like really worry about clipping in and just going through after that. The game is very not wanting to cooperate with me. There we go, perfect. And we're going to be activating the orange laser that'll open up the orange dark cube, which is right there at the center of the map. And we're going to be using that dark cube to go and collect the orange god cube. Excuse me, thank you. And one thing that you're going to be seeing, which actually I'm going to wall clip with the dark cube. You can clip with any cube in this game, including god cubes if you really wanted to, but you don't really have a reason to. We're going to be wall clipping through here. And you really don't want to mess this one up, meaning that you don't, like, once you wall clip, you want to bring it through. You don't want to move at all, because if you let go of the dark cube and you clip through and you can't collect it, you have to wait for, like, the timer to run out and for the screen to turn white before it, like, to where the dark cube was. And so that is a significant time loss, but thankfully, since we know how it works, we should be able to avoid any and all, like, of that pretty easily. But yeah, this is another very beautiful animation that is associated with the orange dark cube. It combines all of the colors that the game thinks that you should have gotten right now. So you can see that there's blue, there's green, there's purple, and there's yellow as well. But since we have gotten the orange, since we've gotten rainbow and then orange, the game doesn't read that we haven't gotten the other cubes yet. It just has an animation that thinks that we've gotten all the other cubes, but we haven't. Similar to the rainbow cube, we're going to be putting this god cube in its pedestal and then going backwards to the area that we just came from. But this time we're going to be going back to the small secret area that we saw originally, where we clipped through like a window. And this time we're going to be changing gravity twice in this door frame, and we're going to be coming over here into a little hub area in which we can access both the purple cube and the yellow cube. But we're going to be collecting the purple cube first. And we're going to be introduced to a new glitch known as save warping. And you essentially save on one side of the portal and then load on the other. And when you load the save, essentially when you're loading, the way that the game kind of sets you back to where you saved is that it takes your physical like player model and it pulls you through the map straight to where you saved, right? And conveniently, it's essentially just pulling us through the portal, since we saved on one side of the portal and loaded on the other. And so it pulls us through the portal and lets us go to the other side of the portal into a new room. That is something that's very convenient and is often used a lot throughout Reverse Pre-Order and also all God Cubes. There are specific areas that we unfortunately can't use it in due to setting up tricks later. But we're going to be using it quite frequently in this one. Now we're going to be going and get the purple dark cube. We're going to be wall clipping into here and this guy is really important because we're not going to be getting the purple dark cube in the same way that the purple god cube in the same way that we got like the orange god cube and the rainbow god cube. We're not going to be collecting a dark cube at all, as a matter of fact. We're going to be doing something known as tree clipping, which is exactly the same as wall clipping, except you clip into a tree. Shocking. So right here, as you can see, the God Cube is at the base of this tree. Like the actual model of the God Cube is at the base of that tree. And so you can clip into it by using a cube and doing the same thing that you do with a wall clip, essentially. The exact like technicalities of like tree clipping is often really finicky, there's not really a quote consistent way of doing it. If you find that you're trying to clip into the tree and it doesn't work, you can just save and load. And we feel like it has something to do with like the positioning of the tree or the positioning of your model in the level. We don't know why sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. That's why we refer to it as RNG. But reality is just, the reality of the situation is that just really, really inconsistent a lot of times, which is why typically estimates for this category are so high, because you often have to save and load a few times for tree clips to work. But thankfully, since you're saving and loading in the same area and nothing much has changed, the loads should technically be pretty fast most of the time. There we go. So that's what a clip should look like. You probably saw once that I clipped into the tree. It clipped into the tree, but I clipped on top of where the dark cube is. And you don't want that. If you clip on top of where the dark cube is, you essentially will not be able to grab it at all. And you want to just move your mouse around until you see your cursor light up. And there you go. You can collect the dark cube from right there, the god cube from right there. So as you can see, saving and like collecting god cubes from their trees instead of using it, instead of collecting like the dark cube and then getting the tree, it saves a lot of time if you do it like the first few tries, because you don't have to like go and do another puzzle. You don't have to go get the dark cube. You don't have to sit through that really long animation or anything like that. You can just get the god cube and move on with your day. That's weird. Let's try that again. Save and then load. Okay, so then we're going to save warp to the other side of this portal, and we're going to be able to clip the cube through the portal and bring it with us. But however, as you can see there, since we had to save and load so many times, this can often be a huge reset point for people in the run. Pretty much any time you have to perform that glitch can be a huge reset point for people in the run, because some trees just want to cooperate better with others, with you than others. We don't really know why. Again, there's a lot of inconsistencies and stuff that we just don't really know about why the cubes work the way that they do, or why clipping works the way that it does, or why trees work the way that they do. It just kind of feels inconsistent at times. We have been theory crafting the rhymes and reasons to why certain things work the way that they do, but we haven't really gotten anything concrete. And so we just kind of have to deal with sometimes the game just doesn't want to work with you. So now that we've collected the purple cube, we're going to be collecting the yellow cube. And this time we're actually going to be collecting the yellow cube in like a quote intended way, meaning that we're going to be collecting the dark cube and going through the animation. You're probably wondering, why don't you just clip into all dark cube and clip into all of the trees? And it is because, as I said before, a lot of trees are incredibly inconsistent. We have found that the yellow tree in particular is incredibly inconsistent. You can only get it if you really try. And so for the sake of consistency, we get like we only clip into specific cubes, because clip into specific trees, because the yellow god cube in particular is incredibly difficult to get out of its tree via tree clipping. And so usually by the time you get the cube out of the tree, you could have already just gotten the cube in the intended way, and it would have been faster. And so that's, as we say, that's the beast that is cubes, or the beast that is trees in this game, because like you just don't know how the trees want to act. On really rare occasions will you get a tree clip first try, although that is ideal in the speedrun, of course. Right here is a dual gravity cube, and so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be changing gravity on the cube and then bringing it with us as we fall down. We're going to be doing this twice. Ooh, for a minute I thought that got stuck up there. Thank goodness it just got stuck down here. But the reason that we actually want to bring this cube with us is because we're going to be doing it later. The puzzle that we saw in the last room, that is right through that portal over there, we did it the intended way. Technically, you can save warp. However, we're choosing not to because of a specific reason that we're going to come back to later. And we're going to go over here, put this cube in the pedestal so it opens up this door, and we're going to be wall clipping, I guess in this case technically floor clipping, through a specific floor right over here in order to collect another yellow cube, in which we will, surprise wall clip with later to activate the laser that'll open up the yellow dark cube. And this specific one can be quite finicky because it's actually only possible to clip into this building. through this particular set of stairs, and sometimes, oh, as you can see, sometimes it does want to work with you like that, but other times it might not be as forgiving as that. So right here, we're going to insert this red cube into this pedestal right here. It'll activate the laser that will turn on this, will activate this pedestal until we collect the dark cube. And similar to how we clipped into the area where the tree is with the orange dark cube, we're going to be clipping into the area where the tree is with this yellow dark cube. This one's a little bit, you don't, like, if you mess up this one, it's not that bad because there's a way for you to open the door from the inside of the building. But in this particular case, you do have to clip into the building first to get inside of it. As you can see, the game doesn't like me right now with this wall clip. I believe in you. Don't worry. There we go. Perfect. A few tries, but still nice. And we're going to be putting that dark cube into the tree and continuing on with the run and admiring another beautiful animation. Please admire this one because it is actually the last one that we're going to be looking at throughout the run. The rest of the trees, green, red, and blue, we're going to be getting via tree clipping. And so we're not going to be looking at any more pretty colors until like the end of the run. And I mean like the very end of the run when we call time. Then we're going to see some pretty colors. And so enjoy this while it lasts. And by while it lasts, I mean like 2 more seconds because we got to move on. Right, now we're going to be putting this God cube into its pedestal, and similar to all the other cubes, we're just going to be going backwards and coming back to where we came from in order to go to the next cube, because we gotta, of course, play the whole game backwards. Putting this cube in the tree, falling backwards. This time we don't really have to like glitch our way to like back through. We can just like go through here and then change gravity to go back and fall through this area. That'll lead us to the section that we came in from. And look at all the beautiful birds. We're going to be, again, changing gravity on these guys. And then if we, I don't know if we, oh, unfortunately we didn't. If you like are able to like place this cube correctly, it'll fall down on to the like the side of the door instead of on top of the door, but we didn't really clip in with it at a very good position, and so we have to do the backup and grab the cube from on top instead. We want this cube, and that's why we did that puzzle originally like the intended way instead of save warping, because we wanted to grab that cube and access this secret area. This is technically not, this is not the intended method, casually speaking, for you to get from for you to connect like the green cube area to the red cube or to the yellow cube area. This is definitely not the way that you probably saw in your playthrough, but it is secret. It is a secret area that we're going to be going through. And if you've ever seen an all God cube speedrun of this game, which is essentially this category before it, this next section might seem pretty familiar to you, or at least the movement of what we're going to be doing is very similar to that of all God cubes from here on forward. The last 3 cubes to get green, the green, red, and blue cubes are pretty similar movement to that, to getting those same cubes at the beginning of an all God cubes run. Okay, and now we're going to be falling down here, doing a lovely area that is quite visually stunning. Thank you. Grabbing this cube over here to deactivate that wall, and then grabbing this cube on this tree to activate this floor, and then we're going to be lining up this cube in a very specific spot on the wall. You can see that there's a sensor underneath here, and we're going to get rid of the bridge so that the cube falls on the sensor and opens up this door. And now we're going to go back here, and we're going to save warp into the area where we're going to be collecting the orange, or the green dark cube, I should say. All right, so now we're going to be falling down here, and there is a lot of really, really cool mechanics that are supposed to be introduced in the green section, particularly the mechanic of like changing the direction of water with your cubes, and activating water wheels and all that jazz. And it's a really cool thing to learn casually, but we're not going to be doing any of that right now. Instead, we're going to be doing a bunch of wall clipping and glitching. And the game is often like really forgiving when it comes to wall clips and tree clips. Let's see. Okay, let's see, it's already here. Oh yeah, as you can see, this particular area is actually like quite easy to clip into, and the it's really fast. Like the margin of error that you have for like grabbing the God cube out of the tree is much more forgiving. As you can see, there's much more space, more pixels that the hitbox of the God cube kind of creeps out at, instead of like the purple, or as we're going to see, the red dart cube that is incredibly precise for you to get it out at. That is probably one of the fastest green like dart cube areas that I've done, because you didn't have to reload sometimes, because technically you're supposed to like save and load in order for the God cube to appear in the tree, but sometimes, as you can see, it just appears. We don't really know why that happens and why sometimes it doesn't. Again, a lot of things that we know about the game and a lot of things that we don't. The game just kind of functions the way that it wants to, and so thankfully it has been kind of in our favor this run, and sometimes not so much. In the green area specifically, it has been incredibly in our favor. We got like all of the wall clips first try, we got a tree clip first try, and we didn't have to save and load in order for the God cube to appear, so all of that was like incredibly fast. But now we're going to be going to our last two cubes of the run, which is the red God cube and the blue God cube. The red God cube, we don't have to save warp into the area in order to get it, because you can just open the door. And now we're going to be using this guy. We're going to be activating this sensor with these dual gravity cubes, and we're getting this guy right here, and we're going to be lining him up right here so that he can, when we change gravity, he can fall onto that sensor. But we're going to be using these red cubes right here and that red cube right here in order to prevent this guy from falling down when we change gravity. Now that both of the sensors are activated, we can take this red cube over to this area. Oop, thank you. We're gonna fall down here. We're gonna leave this guy right here. Perfect. And we want to take this red cube with us and, surprise, do another wall clip through here. You want to like kind of do it a little close to the like the corner, but you don't want to do it at the corner, because sometimes it'll wall clip you to the left wall instead of through the window. And if that happens, you kind of just have to reload and try again, and it loses a lot of time. We want to clip through this wall so that we can grab this yellow cube and wall clip through it. And this yellow cube particularly will activate this sensor down here, in which we can go to a very interesting area. That is actually a sound-based area in the speedrun, at least, in which you have to listen. This marble is going to drop through. This marble is going to drop through a pipe, and you don't have to look at the marble in order to know when to change gravity and like have it go through the rest of the pipe. You can just listen to when the marble falls and then change gravity then. And I got a little bit distracted in my commentary because I needed to listen to where the marble was. And right here, we're going to be wall clipping through this window with this cube, and using the same cube to clip into this tree. Unfortunately, this tree did not have the God cube already there, so as I explained before, you do have to save and load in order to make the God cube appear. And that's what we're going to be doing right now. Hopefully this game wants to give it to us first try. However, I will hold my breath, because I'm not going to hold my breath because typically the game does not want to give it to us without saving and loading. This particular one is incredibly difficult to do first try. You oftentimes won't get it, but you can dream. Try again. And oftentimes, if you're like kind of lucky, the game will sometimes spawn you, like when you save and load, it'll spawn you inside the tree like you're already clipped in. Why that happens, again, we don't know. The game just kind of wants to have it happen sometimes. Clipping into the tree, and this particular one, as you can see, it's going to be a lot more precise. There we go. But we got it pretty quickly. But the actual the amount of pixels that are of of the hitbox of the God Cube that peeks out is much smaller. But as soon as you see your crosshair light up, you can just pick it up. And you don't want to spam, you do not want to spam your mouse, because if you pick it up and then immediately put it back down, it is almost impossible to get out of the tree again. This area, we're not going to go backwards, because the backwards has nothing for us anymore. Instead, we're going to be going forward over to the area where we unlocked this orange tree, and we're going to fall back here, and we're going to go back to an area that we saw near the beginning of the game. And because we only have one cube to collect, and that is the blue cube. You're going to be going over here and unlocking this secret area. And this area allows you to backtrack and go straight to this hallway section where you saw us try and clip into where the last cube was, the Rainbow God Cube. Remember this guy? I told you to remember him. He is a surprise tool that'll help us later. More particularly, this is the cube that we're going to be using in order to clip into the blue God Cube tree and grab the blue God Cube. So he was there with us at the beginning, and now he's here now. Want to bring this guy with us. I highly doubt that this God Cube will already be spawned in. It happens on incredibly rare occasions, but I don't think, yeah, this one is not spawned in as I suspected. So we're going to be saving and loading. The save loads in this particular area tend to be a lot faster than that of the rest of the game. The longest ones for some reason are like in the purple cube area, but let's see how long it takes for us to clip into this tree, how many save loads it'll happen. Usually you don't want to like waste your time and try to keep going and hoping that it'll work. You just kind of want to save load and try again. If you don't get it within the first few tries, that's a pretty good indicator that it's probably not going to happen fast enough where you want it. It might just be faster to save and load. Yeah, save and load again. It's 2 save loads already. Get some sips of bang energy in between. Make that 3 save loads. Oh, there we go. Perfect. And now we're gonna go to the very of this tree without the being out of it, so we can line ourselves up right there and grab the final God Cube, which is the blue God Cube. Save warping through the port and clipping it through on the other side. So we're approaching the end of the run pretty rapidly. There we go. Perfect. As soon as we plant this God Cube into the pedestal, we will have collected all the God Cubes in the game, but then we have to go finish the game itself. And a lot of you may not know that this game has a fast travel system. You probably did notice what I'm about to show you, which is a diorama of different areas in the game, this particular section. But you can click on each and every diorama and it'll teleport you directly to where this part is. In case you want to come back and like look around for secrets and stuff, because there's a lot of secrets in this game. I probably haven't even, as a speedrunner, seen all of them. But now we're going to be falling down here. There's an invisible wall right here, so you kind of just have to, like, in between those 2 portals. It's a little annoying, but you just have to change gravity again. And now we're going to be coming through here, and we're going to be finishing the game, changing gravity on a waterfall, no less. And we have one last trick that we're going to be doing, in which I'm going to be activating gravity at very specific points, like that, and like that, boom, and boom. So what I just did right there is I essentially, whenever you change gravity, it'll teleport you exactly to where your crosshair is pointing. And what I did was I teleported over a trigger that will prevent me from changing gravity so that we can fall down that catwalk instead of having to walk all the way towards it. And if you fail it, you can just like back up and try again, because once you get out of the trigger, through where you came, it'll just give you the ability to like change gravity again. So like you don't have to like worry if like you don't get it the first try. So this fall is about 46 seconds, I think. I always forget the exact time, but time is going to come up when like the kaleidoscope appears on screen. It's going to like fade to white and then kaleidoscope in a few seconds. So that's around 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's time. Yeah, that is Manifold Garden. And so this is a speedrun that I've been really, really obsessed with, and so I'm so glad to have shown this off at really, really long thong, or a really, really long thong event. Really, really fight the power. This is a really good cause, and so I highly recommend donating if you have the chance. And I am super excited to have shown this off, and I'm going to be showing off a few more games tonight, and I hope that y'all can stick around because they're really, really cool games. And if you're into stuff like this, you're going to be seeing more of this later. And so yeah, that's all. If you want help with the speedrun, particularly I'm the one other person, or like the only two people in this game that would speedrun this category in particular. So we can help you out with stuff if you want to learn it. It's unfortunately not the most consistent category, but at the same time, this is not the most consistent game, like in general. There's really no category that will be 100% consistent in your favor, but for some reason, I just really, really enjoy it. I think the movement and the mechanics and stuff like that is probably the best of most speedruns that I've done. And yeah, aside from that, I don't really have much to say. I would do all of my outro stuff right now, but I do have more runs to do during this marathon. So I'm going to be doing that at the end of that section. So stay tuned for the first-person puzzle game / mind-bending block that I'll be doing. It'll be fun. So yeah, we're going to go to transition, and I'll be right back with, I believe, Antechamber is up next.
Two, one, go.
All right. Hello, everyone, again. So this time, my name is ozmourn, and we're going to be speedrunning Antichamber, which, if you just saw the run that I did with Manifold Garden and you liked it, well, then you're definitely going to like this one. Let me click into the game so we can hear some of the music. Today we're going to be playing specifically 100%. The biggest completionist category that this game has, in that we're going to be collecting a few things. Number one, and they're kind of represented via trackers on my face cam. If I'm getting my directions right here, you should see the blue tracker that tracks all 120 signs in the game. So like all this is represented by the little blue dots. I apologize if like the dots and also the map. This particular map right here is represented on the left side of my face cam. They're a little bit small, but this is what we could fit with what we had. And then on the bottom left, so around like that direction of the game screen, you're going to be seeing the pink cube tracker, which tracks all 30 cubes, and you're going to be seeing the overall percentage completion that we're going to be seeing in the game. And so by the end of the run, it should look exactly like it is right now. But for now, it's not going to look anything like that. I'm going to have all of these trackers up on my other monitor, and so we're going to be seeing those at the end. And yeah, we can just immediately start. You do have to start from a fresh save in order to have this category, have a run be valid. And yeah, as the sign said, every journey is a series of choices, and the first is to begin the journey. I have a lot to explain and not a lot of time to explain it. So the journey begins in 3, 2, 1, go. So the very first thing that we're going to be doing is falling down this first tower area. And so you want to come back here. And the way that this route is kind of routed out is that we're going to be collecting the red gun as fast as possible. But before we get the red gun, we have to get all the guns in between. More particularly, the blue gun we're going to start off with. And before we get into any puzzle solving, we're going to be grabbing this pink cube. You have to get this one first. If you don't get it one first, you're not going to be able to collect it for the rest of the game. But pink cubes, as long as you have your cursor or your crosshair on them, they will move, and all you have to do is send them to their their destination. And as soon as they get off screen, that's how you know they're collected. A lot of the puzzles in this game are going to be based off of my camera positioning or my character positioning in the game. For example, this one, as your camera is all the way filling up the entire, as the window is filling up your entire camera, you will get teleported to wherever that window is showing you. And one thing you're going to be seeing me do is actually exits to main menu a lot, because usually that is a lot faster than just like walking there yourself. For example, right here, many paths to nowhere. Technically, all of the signs and maps that I'm getting or signs and map triggers and all that jazz that I'm getting, I could really do all in one fell swoop, but it is oftentimes faster to just select where you want to go from the menu to avoid walking, and that helps because the game spawns you a little bit closer than where you triggered like the sign or whatever. Right here, we're going to be getting up close and personal with this sign in order to teleport us and grab another map and time trigger, and we're going to be staring at this eye right here. This eye is stared at for 15 seconds before it blinks and then disappears. And as we did that, we walked backwards and we're triggered for another part of the map and another sign. Right here, we're going to be collecting this guy, these two, and we're going to be doing leapfrog. There is a skip for leapfrog, but I am bad at the skip for leapfrog, so we're not going to be doing the skip for leapfrog. And we're going to be using this cube in order to hold up this wall right here. And now we're going to be collecting the green gun. The green gun it does a little bit more functionality than the blue gun. The blue gun you could just like shoot and collect one cube at a time. This one you can collect like a little bit more than one cube at a time, but it's oftentimes a little useful in the speedrun itself. What you just saw right there is another instance of lag glitch, and as the name implies, I'm purposefully causing lag in order so that the game does not read that I'm going through specific triggers. For example, there was a laser over there that I could have gone through, but if you like perform lag glitch, the laser is supposed to close the door in front of you, but if you perform lag glitch and just walk through the laser in that like lag state, the game doesn't read that you went through the trigger, so you just don't activate it at all. And now we're going to be doing another glitch as we collect the yellow gun called a warp, in which you shoot a bunch of cubes right here, cause lag, and immediately exit to the hub. And if you did it right, oh, we almost did it right. Let's try that again. As you can see there, if you quit the main menu as you're shooting a bunch of cubes and then cause lag, you're able to keep the cubes there because the game... Oh my god, okay, there we go. Usually I'm not having this much trouble with warps. The game keeps the cubes there, and what we're trying to like accomplish here is that we want... There we go, that's what we wanted. Essentially what we did was that we spawned in exactly where the cubes were, and since the game saw that we were sharing like the same space with the cubes, the game was just like, you shouldn't be able to do that, and we get teleported back to the hub with a gun, and during that state it kind of does a lot of wonky stuff, including allowing us to teleport to wherever we want to on the map by like just right clicking, and in doing so we're able to travel to even places that we haven't visited yet. And so we're going to be doing 2 of those throughout the run because they're really the only 2 useful places that you can do, that you can have throughout the run. And that was one of them. And now we're going to be doing another instance of lag glitch right here to prevent that door from closing. And this is the ability that we got from the yellow gun. We can able to like move these cubes like through the physical space of the level without having to collect them in our gun. And the ability that we got from the red gun was we were able to collect cubes in groups and essentially multiply cubes, making cubes infinite. Right here, we're going to be doing a tower clip, and the reason that's called tower clip is you saw that these rooms are numbered. We have 8 rooms, numbered 1 through 8, of course, and they are called the tower. However, in the actual physical like level geometry of the game itself, they are not a tower. They are like rooms, one next to the other. And so we can able to clip through walls and skip, because usually when in order to access each part of the tower, you have to like solve puzzles and stuff. But instead, we just clip through the walls so that we don't have to solve all those puzzles. And right here in this secret area, we're going to be climbing up here and riding up this cube in order to get the 4th pink cube of the run out of 13. And now we're going to be going over here to I only need 1. We're going to be walking forward in order to grab another map trigger that we do need to come back to later. And we're going to bring these cubes, and you have to actually physically move. Like whenever you see these like particle fields, you have to physically move the cubes through the particle fields, because whenever you touch them, they're like the particle fields get rid of all the cubes inside of your gun. And so that is another thing we do right here. And what you're going to be seeing right now is an instance of jump storage, where essentially we store, if you walk off of a platform without having previously jumped, you can store a jump mid-air and then just jump whenever you want to in midair. And we're going to be seeing another instance of that right here, a really good instance of that actually, which you collect a cube at the very bottom and use jump storage in order to stop ourselves from falling all the way down. And we're going to be collecting one more map and sign trigger right here. And what we want is actually to go to tower 5, and we're going to go to climbing the tower. And we're going to be riding this cube up. We're going to see 2 more instances of jump storage, like so. And we'll collect the 5th pink cube of the run. And then, boom, we're going to be collecting another pink cube right here. Or another sign, I should say. You want to consistently jump through this area, because otherwise that's going to happen. You want to happen the second time, though, because you want to go down here and collect a map and sign trigger. You want to do jump storage again over here and lag glitch to prevent these lasers from being activated. Collect another sign. We're going to go to learning to draw, and this particular section, actually, we are going to... sorry. Come on. There we go. That should be enough. And this particular section, we're going to be opening up these doors in order to grab a sign at the very end here. And now we're going to... grab all these cubes in the very center, collecting this sign. And then one interesting thing about the mechanic that we got from the yellow gun is that when you tell cubes to go in a direction, they don't necessarily have to go exactly where you lead them. They'll just go in the direction until something stops them. And so we're going to use that to our advantage by having the top cubes travel to the right, activating the laser on the right, while we fill up the bottom row and fill up the laser on the left. And that will allow us to activate both lasers relatively at the same time. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is something known as cube chambering, and that's what I just did right now. You saw that I walked through a particle field, but I was able to keep one cube, and it's easiest glitch in the game. You can do it at home. All you have to do is right-click, left-click, walk through a particle barrier, and then right-click again, or let go of right-click, and that allows you to shoot one cube and store only one cube throughout with your gun after you walk through a particle barrier. Excuse me. Thank you. Around this point in the run is where I like to talk about the different rebindings that we have and that we allow in this category. First and foremost, I have shooting the cubes, rebound the scroll wheel up. Collecting the cubes, rebound the scroll wheel up. Shooting the cubes, rebound the scroll wheel down. I have escape, rebound to Q, and I have F11 in order to go in and out of windowed mode, rebound to one of my mouse buttons. And we do that in order to, just not have to reach across your keyboard to do very basic things in the run. And combine that with like all the different resources that we have, like the trackers and stuff, it actually becomes a very replayable speedrun, a very fun speedrun. The first speedrun not the first speedrun that I really got invested into, but the first speedrun that I kind of really saw ability in. Only because like it's just constant gaming, it's constant speedrunning. There's nothing like there's no cutscenes, no loading. You can just consistently you can just go. It's so much fun, and you can just try again. Thank you. We're going to open up this door in order to grab another map and sign trigger over there. But we are going to come back to that part of the map later. And now we're going to be doing another glitch where we create a wall of cubes underneath to the side of this elevator, and for whatever reason that allows us to just get a lot of velocity downwards. We're going to fill up those holes, open that door, cube chamber 1 cube through here, and grab it with us, and go through here, turn around to a room that wasn't there before, and we want to collect another map and sign trigger right here. Perfect. And now we're going to go to don't look down, but we're going to look down because we kind of have to. So we're about halfway through the run in terms of time. However, you can see that there's 70%, we've collected 70%, there's 30% left, but the last 30% takes a while. And now we're going to go to taking baby steps, and we're going to grab one more map sign trigger up here. Boom. Perfect. And now we're going to be going to impossible paths, grabbing the cubes over here from and using them as a bridge over WTF. And we're going to be using these same cubes and using them as a wall, because when we get bounced over here, we want to stop ourselves in order to solve this puzzle. And one thing about the cube in this game is that if you get rid of a cube and then cover up a cube in its place, typically a cube that you get rid of will come back. But if another cube comes up, covers up its place, it will never come back. so we use that to our advantage in order to get rid of all the cubes and like uncover all the lasers in order to open the door, as opposed to like covering up all the lasers. Right here, we're going to be moving this guy right here, connecting those two parts. And whenever you split a group of cubes into two parts, into two groups, the smaller group will always like disappear, as we saw right there, and that's what you want to connect those two ends. Right here is a bunch of up and down all around. This is the part of the game where you're technically supposed to be introduced to like how whenever you see circles on the wall, you're supposed to walk backwards, and everything like behind you just doesn't exist. You can just walk through walls that were there before. Oh, excuse me. Where? Oh, here it is. A little bit distracted. And now we're going to be performing another glitch in which we like shoot cubes and then immediately quit to menu. If we did that fast enough, we did some cube chambering, which is really good. Or sorry, not cube chambering, hub storage was really good. I'll explain hub storage later in a part of the run where it's more appropriate to do. But right here, as we collect one more. Come on. Oh no. Oh, we didn't collect one more. Sorry. We want to collect these two cubes. We exit the main menu so fast that the cubes never disappeared from the map, and so we use that to our advantage in order to collect those cubes through a little seam in the wall, and bring two more cubes in order to activate the door at the very end of that section in order to collect another sign, another map trigger. Now we're going to be doing something known as elevator clip. It is, as it sounds, you clip through an elevator. Essentially, as this elevator is walking up, we're going to be putting a cube there, and the cube pushes us through the elevator. Because the elevator there's nothing that will stop the elevator from just moving up, except for a cube itself. And now we're going to go into stop and go, perform lag glitch again in order to prevent that door from closing by activating all the lasers. And now we're going to go back to Stairway to Heaven, and this time we're going to be walking up here. You want to walk forward because we want to activate another map and sign trigger that will come in handy later. Oop, I actually almost forgot to grab some of these cubes. And now we're going to be jumping down here. Oop, it's fine. Typically, you want to like land right in the dead center of this elevator so that you can just immediately go down here. Perfect. And we're going to ride one cube up. Go across, and we're going to be collecting these cubes on the other side of this particle barrier, because this wall is a little bit elevated as opposed to the rest of this room for some reason. Stopping this giant cube from moving so that the elevator stays down, filling up these two rows, covering up all these lasers so that this door opens. Using jump storage in order to collect the map and sign trigger that's in that bottom room, but without actually going down there. Excuse me. This is a part of the game where it's like really hard to like keep your aim, but also be precise with your shots while not like losing your momentum. It's one of the harder things about this game. And so right here, we want to just go over here to jumping through hoops. We're going to be collecting two sign triggers over here, and now we're going to go to too many lasers, in which these next two sections are essentially the same puzzle, except we're going to be solving them. They're meant to be solved in two separate ways, but we're going to be solving them the same way because we already have the red gun. As you can see there, the game had like green cubes in that section, and so it assumes that you should have the red gun, and so it assumes you should have the green gun at that point. And you're meant to solve it in a different way, but we solved it the way that's meant to be solved with the red cube instead, because it's just faster to do it. And that's where we get the red gun so fast, because all of its abilities allow us to fix, and all of its abilities allow us to do a lot of glitches and solve a lot of puzzles much faster than one normally would. Activate all those lasers, and then go to a loop that won't close. Again, this is the same puzzle as we saw with the green cubes, except now it's with red cubes, and this is the way that you're supposed to solve it at this point in the game. There's a pit underneath here, and we're going to be just using a bunch of jump storage in order to grab or to go through here without falling down. We're going to do a tower of cubes in order to fill up this section, covering up all these lasers, opening that door, and we're at 91.2%, which is exactly what we want to see right now. Oops, sorry, this is the one that I want to go to. There's a little bit of of a gap between there, you can collect that cube, and once you connect it with the rest of the cubes, it'll just start disappearing. We're going to be collecting one more map and sign trigger, and then we're going to be performing another warp right here. So, and this one's a little bit harder, so hopefully we can get it quickly. Oh, we got a first try. Let's go. We unfortunately didn't do hub storage. However, that actually kind of is nice because that means we do the hub storage backup, and I can more like concretely explain what hub storage is. Hub storage is essentially you shoot a bunch of cubes and immediately exit to main menu. And since you exit to main menu so fast, the game doesn't really know what to do with like the cubes that you shot because they haven't touched a wall yet, and so they haven't like disappeared, and so the game can't like get rid of it. And so what the game does is essentially they refund you the cubes and put them back into your gun. And the reason that's called hub storage is because typically when you exit to the hub, and you should not be able to like store a cube through it. And so that glitch allows us to do that. And now we're going to be grabbing one map or one sign trigger at the very end of this section. And now we're at what's known as like the cleanup section of the run, in which we're going to clean up all of the signs and the maps and the pink cubes that we didn't collect. More particularly, if you this sequence that we skipped with the warp, the chase sequence, if you walk backwards, you can see a pink cube. And we're going to be going to Deja Vu, collecting a pink cube over here. This one, we could have gone earlier, but with the current routing, there isn't really a solid way to incorporate this into the run. And so we just get it at the very end. It doesn't really matter where you get it, whether it's earlier or later, because it's kind of just completely isolated from most of the other areas in the game. And so right here, we're going to be collecting these two cubes. We're going to be opening this wall up, and what we want is we're going to be, again, there's a plasma barrier here, so we can't like collect all of the cubes. We can't like move all the cubes through, or we can't. You can't like collect the cubes in your gun because the plasma barrier will get rid of it, and so we have to physically move the cubes through instead. And so right here we're going to do the hidden secrets, and we're going to be collecting a few more sign triggers and map triggers right here. Perfect. And now we're going to being an entrepreneur, in which we're going to be multiplying all these cubes and filling up all of these areas right here. Perfect. And now we're going to be collecting the last pink cube of the game. It is supposed to be the longest pink cube, and also technically the first pink cube that you get in a casual playthrough, but it's the last one that we get now because it's just the most convenient to do. At this point in the run, you should be able to know whether or not you're going to PB, because this cube takes exactly 90 seconds to get. There is a little bit more gameplay afterwards, in which you can collect a few more signs and a few more maps, but at this point, you should safely be able to like estimate if whether or not you're going to get like a PB or warp run. And thankfully, it is one of the last things that you do, and so like it's not like annoying to sit through in the run, because at this point you already know if you already know if you're going to PB. So at this point you can just reset or just run it out. And so like this category, before I ran it back in 2021, at the end of 2021, it was a category that hadn't been ran in about 8 years, since 2013. And so I kind of had to reroute it from the ground up. I incorporated a lot of the route that was in the 2013 route, because some of it is objectively faster. But I was able to incorporate a lot of new modern glitches and stuff that wasn't entirely known at the time of 2013, when this game originally came out, as a matter of fact. Boom. And now we're going to be walking through here and collecting a few more map and sign triggers. The good news is that we're almost done with the run. We're almost done with the game. There's a little bit more. There's 3 more signs. 2 of them are going to get through here. And the third sign that you probably saw is actually one that we saw in the main hub. You probably saw there was a timer there. So good news is that that's the last sign. The bad news is that we do have to sit here for an hour and 8 minutes in order to grab it. So I mean, this is really long-a-thon, so I think it's actually quite appropriate. So we're going to be here for quite some time. That's a joke, though. And so what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be doing that, in which we just crashed the game. What we just did was when we like entered a level and then went back, we pushed to the left and allowed us to clip through the wall and grab the sign without having to let the timer run out. However, you do have to quit the game because you can't exit the hub because the game thinks you're already in the hub. And so you can't just like finish the game. You have to exit, like you're forced to quit the game and then restart it. So time is going to come up in about 5 seconds when I shoot this cube into the pedestal. So 3, 2, 1, time. Yeah, that is anti-chamber 100%. That is like a pretty decent run from what I could tell. Obviously, I'm not looking at any timer or anything like that. But just based on the timer that I saw in the hub, it was definitely underestimated, which is nice. And so this is a run that I highly recommend as well. It's probably the most involved speedrun that I have, the most hectic speedrun that I have, because so much happens in such a little amount of time. It's just puzzle after puzzle after puzzle, collecting things after collecting things. There's zero downtime, and there's zero, aside from like the very last cube that you have to collect, but even then that's only 90 seconds, and you still have to like move with the cube. And so I just don't thwart and fall through that I have. Don't get back in. But yeah, that's anti-chamber 100%. I am the only person in the world that speedruns this category at the moment. And so if you want some help with this particular speedrun, I highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for something really intense. And so that is all from me for anti-chamber, at least. We have 3 more games. The next one up is Liminal Ranger, which is a little bit of a departure from the puzzle platforming aspect, but it still has a lot of really cool mind-bending stuff and really interesting stuff. And it's probably the most obscure title that I speedrun, and so I highly recommend checking and staying tuned for the rest of my runs. So that is all for Anti-Chamber. We'll be right back with
2, 1, go.
All right. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is ozmourn. If you're just tuning in, and I've been doing some really funky runs, particularly first-person puzzle platformers and all the like. This one is Liminal Ranger. It is probably one that you have not seen before, more particularly because like it's an incredibly like obscure game. It is free on itch.io, and I highly recommend like checking it out because I mean it's pay your own price, so like it's not like explicitly free, but as the developer describes it, it's essentially free. But if you have any dollars to spare for the developer after you've already donated to really longathon or really fight the power, I highly recommend getting this game and maybe supporting the dev if you really like it. And aside from that, we're going to be doing true ending in this one. So you're going to be seeing like pretty much all this game has to offer. It's a very short run, very short game, and also a very short casual experience. So again, I say that you have nothing to really lose from just going to itch.io and downloading this game, and supporting the dev if you have the change to do so. So we're just gonna be starting immediately, and time will begin when I hit new game right here. So 3, 2, 1, go. So the very first thing that we're going to be doing is the pro gamer strat of skipping through text. We're going to be meeting up with our friend, and as we turn the corner, we realize that our friend is gone. We turn around to realize something that's gone horribly wrong. Our friend has gone lost in the spaces between dimensions, and now we work for an organization that brings peace to the universe by making the spaces between dimensions happy. It's a very dramatic plot. This is Boss. His name is Boss. Please refer to him as such. And as soon as we talk to him, we're just going to go straight to our first job. I skipped the tutorial, but it's okay because I know what I'm doing. I know how to explain the mechanics, so just pay attention to what I'm saying, and we'll be good. This is the spray. It gets rid of enemies, and if we're good at the run, that is the only time that we should have to use it. I tend to use it a little bit later for safety, but if we're like incredibly good, we shouldn't need to. We're going to be grabbing that checkpoint for safety, and then that's why we grab the checkpoints. And we're going to be using the pogo stick. The second bounce will always be the highest. At the very peak of the bounce, we're going to be using the coin. Essentially, the coin is like a teleporting coin. Wherever you shoot it at, it will. That's where you'll teleport. You just left click to shoot and right click to teleport. Ooh, yep. That is unfortunate. This is like probably the hardest jump in the game. Like, there we go, perfect. And after that, it should be smooth sailing from here. The only real downside to like missing jump is the enemy cycles for the rest of the run. And that is because a lot of the speed mechanics are centered around the enemy cycles, and so you don't really know if where the enemies are, like if you mess it up, because based on like if you do the fastest movement, that you know exactly where the enemies should be to where they are. But like right here, we're able to we kind of like I think have to wait for this enemy. Okay, we grabbed it. Okay, good. We did grab the last collectible here. Excuse me. My goodness, this enemy just does not want to look away from here. I'm taking a lot of risks, but it's fine. This particular enemy, we got that last soda can. Essentially what we're doing is we met a space, or we were supposed to have met a space. The spaces are personified by like shadows on the wall, and all the spaces in this game are like really sad because it feels like they feel like no one appreciates them. This particular space is like a hallway, and so we're able to just make it happy by collecting its memories. The memories of this space are personified by like, you know, these soda cans or whatever, and on the other side we're going to see some benches. You know, the natural things you'd find in like an outdoor corridor. We're going to call the coin back and then put it right here so we can teleport back to the center of the map as soon as we're done collecting everything on that end. Then we're going to be pogoing, and after collecting this checkpoint, we're actually going to be going out of our way to collect a secret memento. Since this is true ending, every single level has a secret memento that you need to collect in order to unlock the true ending. and that is one of them. That is a paper airplane. Those are left by our friends that we lost a few years ago. Now, the route for this particular area where we're going to collect the benches, originally it was bottom to top, but we actually found a faster recently in development, in the route development, in which we are going to be collecting them from top to bottom. And starting with this guy right here, we want just this guy to turn around. Perfect. That's why you're like the enemy cycles are like really important in this run, because if you do it the fastest way, that guy should already be looking away by the time you make it to the top. But unfortunate mistakes are accounted for, so all we have to do is wait for a bit. And for safety, I understand this guy just looked away, but I just want to get rid of him. And that is truly the last time we're ever going to be using the spray in order to get rid of an enemy, because we're actually going to get rid of it right now. After you return to your boss at the end of every day, you are forced to get rid of an item and then upgrade an item. Get rid of the spray because it's pretty useless throughout the rest of the run, and then we upgraded the hammer because the hammer has a lot of really cool mechanics if you unlock its ult ability after upgrading every single item in this game. You unlock its ult ability, and the ult ability of the hammer is flight. Just the natural thing that a hammer would do. All you have to do is right click to activate its mechanic. If you right click and then jump, you can fly. The height of your jump is actually dependent on when you jump after using the ult ability with right click. And so the more time there is between the two actions, the more height you'll get and the more velocity you'll get too. I'm going to use a pogo stick right here, as something like this. It's a little bit easier to just use a pogo stick to get yourself out of the rut. And over here, this is another space that we're supposed to talk to. There's a wall preventing us from talking to him, but for some reason it just doesn't reach all the way to that corner, so we can just walk around it. We can collect items through walls, as we just did right there, and we're going to be doing that the run from here on out. We're going to be putting this corner right here, so when we collect the rest of the light switches, we're going to be teleporting immediately back there. And one thing, the things we're going to be collecting here are light switches and chairs, because the space that we're making happy is a hotel room. So those are just the natural things you'd find in a hotel room. We're going to be bouncing up here and grabbing this chair on the other side of the map. This is where we're going to be starting to collect all of the other, a little bit of a time loss because I accidentally took out the coin instead of the hammer. But this is a part of the map where we're collecting all the other memories, and the memories are, of course, chairs, as we mentioned. But what we wanted to do was, boom, like that. That's what we wanted to do. Use the flying hammer in order to climb up here. We're going to grab this checkpoint, not for safety, but for an actual strat in which we grab this chair and then hit purposefully to immediately get sent back to the checkpoint, and then teleport back to the checkpoint and bring out the teleporting coin, because as soon as we collect this final chair, we should be able to immediately go back to where we grab the coin. So we go back to where you put the coin. And one thing about the ult ability for the hammer is that it also works in order to gain a little bit of momentum. It's a little bit faster than just moving forward. We're going to be talking to this guy, and since we talked to him the first time, since we talked to him after having collected all the memories, skip the first. But right here, we're supposed to get rid of an item, but we're not going to, because for some reason during that screen where the game asks you to get rid of an item and then upgrade an item, you have free movement, and so you can just reset checkpoint and then walk through the portal at the end. Just don't do what the game wants you to do. Just immediately skip all that. So, and that's really good because if you use the coin, you're going to be able to use the coin in the next level, and you're also going to be able to use the hammer in the next level as well as the pogo stick. So you don't have to you can use all three to your advantage, and they're all kind of necessary for the run, except for in coin only. There is a way for you to use like the way for you to beat this game only using the coin. You don't have to use any other ability. This particular space is the corridor that we lost our friend in 5 years ago. And we're gonna be collecting skateboards and vents, the natural things you'd find in like an outdoor court. And we're gonna be using the hammer's alt ability. As you can see, this is why we saved the hammer, because you can just fly up through here and skip. Look at all that we're skipping. Look at all that. We don't even need it. You can just go across and collect all of these skateboards on this side of the map without having to worry about any forming at all. Perfect. And then we're going to grab this guy and then teleport back. Ooh, okay. A little bit of a setback there because we wanted to go forward on this bench and then fly through this giant enemy's chest in order to grab this guy. Teleport back to the checkpoint and then grab this skateboard and then teleport back to where you saw the teleporting coin at the very beginning of the level and then place it back here so that we can just immediately fly up and grab vents on the other end. And we need to collect one last memento as well in order to unlock the true ending, and it's right over here. Perfect. Excuse me, that one's a little finicky. And then we're going to be climbing up here, and we're going to be grabbing this guy like through the wall essentially, so that the enemy doesn't have to see us. This vent, and after we grab this last vent, what we have to do is teleport back to where you put the coin. Skip the dialogue, and now we've unlocked the true ending because we collected all the secret mementos. The true ending is that we meet back up with our friend that we lost 5 years ago. They have been traveling the spaces between dimensions, and they enjoy it so much that they feel like they can't go back to the real world. And they ask us to join them, and then we do. Time is coming up in around 10 seconds as soon as I skip this last dialogue with my friend and I hit the final door that'll exit. That is when time is going to be. So in about 3, 2, 1, and time. Yeah, that's Liminal Ranger. Very nice and short and sweet speedrun. And so I highly recommend it. If you are interested in like just a free game, I recommend it. And something nice and short and sweet. There's not much I can say. And also the music and the game, like everything about the game is a one-man project by a talent top, including the music, the graphics, and all the mechanics. Like every aspect of this game was made by one person. And it's a really cool game. So shout out to the talent top for creating a really cool casual experience. Just enjoying one session, and also a really enjoyable speedrun. And so you got the true ending. I collected all 3 out of 3 mementos. So yeah, that is Liminal Ranger. We have 2 more runs coming up. The longest one coming up right after this, known as Light Matter. So stay tuned for that. And
2, 1, goodbye.
All right. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is ozmourn, and what is with these graphics? Are these very high? Come on. And then first setting, perfect. Except for the field of view. Put that back. There we go. Perfect. I don't know what was going on there, but this is light matter, specifically any percent no major glitches, and so any percent no major glitches is the most popular category of this game. It relies on movement and creative skips, and it does kind of glitches and stuff. There's like small glitches that we use here and there, but the main like any percent category of this game has like really precise glitches that like break the game in a way that's like cool but not really fun to do in a speed run. And so we've created this category that is much more beginner and runner friendly, banning specific glitches that are just not fun to do. They're cool as a small showcase, but they're not fun to grind. And so any percent no major glitches, much more beginner friendly, and a run that I 100% recommend that you pick up, arguably a little bit more so than I would say any other game that I'm showing off today. And I say that probably because it's like a game that speaks very dearly to me. It's the first speedrun that I really took seriously. It's not the first speedrun that I've ever done, but it's the first one that like I really took seriously, and like the one that I would consider got me into speedrunning and made me fall in love with like the art and the sport of it. And so I'm going to explain a little bit more as we get into it. But one thing that I will say right now is that we're going to go to extras. I'm going to turn around speedrun stats because that's just something that's required in case of a PB. And developer commentary is something that we're going to actually turn on later in the run, but just know that that is an option that we're going to be using at some point. And so timing will begin when I start on the first level right here. So 3, 2, 1, go. So light matter, what is this game about? Light matter is an indie first-person puzzle platformer, very much inspired by Portal. As you're going to see a little bit of Portal references here, actually. And so the main mechanic behind this game is that everything in the game is covered in light, and shadows. Any shadows in the game can kill you. With the exception of like the first 2 levels. The first 2 levels, there's no shadow that you're supposed to be able to walk in. However, even if you manage to walk in shadow, maybe by like using no clip or by just managing to find very small pieces of shadow in like the game that you can access, you cannot die in them. There is no death plane programmed into the shadows within the first 2 levels because it's just meant to be a tutorial section in order to teach you very basic mechanics such as moving, running, pressing buttons, all that jazz. One thing you're going to be seeing us do is jumping upstairs and then grinding down the handrails upstairs, because those small optimizations save a little bit more time than just walking, and they add up a lot throughout the run. Now, this is Virgil, the main antagonist, and also one of the 2 disembodied voices. I know he has a body and we're seeing it right here, but it is disembodied for like the rest of the run. And so think of him as the GLaDOS of light matter. And it is a character voiced by David Bateson, who is Hitman or Agent 47 from the Hitman series, who I have had the interviewing a few times as well. A very amazing person. As you can see right here, there is a shadow here, but there's no death plane onto it, and so again, you cannot die. This kind of goes to show that this is meant to be a tutorial sequence. But if you don't pick up this game for the speedrun, I highly recommend picking this game just because it's like a fun casual experience, and the performances given by the actors phenomenal. And so right here, we're going to be pressing this button. Excuse me. Sometimes the game doesn't like giving you back your jump there, but we're just going to be coming down here and going straight towards the end of the level. So this is light matter, essentially. This like light beam of light that we're going to be seeing a lot. There is a place called the core, and we're going to be like going back to it pretty frequently. But after that, we're just going to be entering this elevator, and that's the end of the run. That's it. Ignore the 50-minute estimate. Ignore the fact that there's a death counter. There is like we're just gonna be finishing the run in 2 minutes from now, and we're gonna get like a world record by like 40 minutes. And so like I say that that's a pretty good run. You know, like GG's. Nothing bad will happen in the next 2 seconds. Nothing. There is nothing that could possibly go wrong in this elevator ride. Except, of course, there has to be something that goes wrong, because the game needs a game, the plot needs a plot, and this is an elevator crash that should almost definitely kill us, but it doesn't because we're the main character in the game. And so, yeah. That's the enter. That's the beginning section. Title card. Night Matter. So. Now we have to go. Now we have to like I don't know, do the speed run, do the game. Apparently, we can't just end it there. But we're in for a treat. So I'm gonna jump to the left here, and from here on out, most of the shadows in this game will kill you, with very specific exceptions that I will mention when we get there. But in this first level, you just kind of have to time your jump right here. 1, 2, 3. You want to time it pretty well so that you can just keep running across without stopping. And right here is the first skip of the run. It is the first kind of reset point. I mean, if you mess it up once, it doesn't lose that much time. Hopefully we don't mess it up here. We want to move this bridge to the right, to the left, and then to the right. On the second time that turns right, there's a bit of a delay as it's like moving back and forth, and so you can walk across the bottom bridge as the top bridge is going across, and get to the other side of the bridge before the top bridge covers it and kills you with the shadow. And so right here there's supposed to be a puzzle. Oh, but instead there's death, because I didn't jump early enough. I said there's supposed to be a puzzle, but we can just do that instead. There is actually, I've forgotten how to solve that puzzle casually. I'm sure it's easy, because it's like the first of like 2 puzzles in the game. But I just do not know what the casual solution for that is anymore. And so right here, we're coming up here, and we're going to be. This is a cycle-based level, and so you can be able to get the fast cycle like we did right here, with these trams that are covering up the light. And that's pretty much all for level 6. Level 7 is the first level that introduces an actual like small glitch that is allowed in this particular category, because it's fun to do. We're gonna be collecting this guy and anything that you see that has like a yellow outline to it, that is an object that we can pick up. So we're gonna be taking this lamp, and we're gonna be lodging it inside of this vent, because whenever you lodge a lamp inside of like a slanted object, if for some reason it allows you to just like jump up really, really high, like you saw right there. And so we jumped over that that shadow right there, and it allows us to skip a lot of puzzle solving, and I think it skips around 10 seconds or so, maybe more towards 7, but I don't know the exact time save. It's been a hot minute since I've seen the exact stats and stuff like that. To my left, right here, that is the core. We're going to be revisiting the core a lot throughout this run in terms of like the plot and stuff like that. Level 8 that we're in now, it is a level that is purely based on movement, and is a level that is really satisfying if you do the movement right. And one thing that I say about this game is that like it is really, really beginner friendly. There is no RNG in the game. It is purely skill. And so it's a very low skill floor, high skill ceiling kind of game, and it's really, really satisfying to see yourself improve in it. And so I highly recommend it for anyone who wants to try out like their first speed run or anything like that. And so it's just an absolutely amazing time. Again, there's a reason why it was the first speed run that I took really seriously, because it was just something that I fell in love with the moment that I saw it, and I just wanted to speed run it immediately. So now we're going to be going into level 9, which is another cycle-based level, but this one is a little bit more precise. with the timing of the cycles. Want to grab this guy, shine it in that direction to grab this lamp over here. Want to realign this lamp so that it shines in that direction. And since we were fast enough, we were able to skip half a cycle with this machine that's moving back and forth, and just make it to the end of the level by walking across the light that we used with that second lamp that we realigned. And now we're going to be using level 10, and it introduces another small mechanic in which you can leave lamps in the dark, because the game establishes that the shadows only eat up organic material, which in this case just means you. But you can leave like non-living objects, and in this case lamps, in the dark. We're going to be like positioning that lamp so that it's shining on this corner, and then boom, grabbing this lamp on the other side and shining this lamp across this bridge. And once again, we're going to be given another prompt in which, like, another area in which this should be the end of the game, or the part that's going to save us. But of course the bridge collapses, because why wouldn't it? The game has to game, the plot has to plot, and the conflict has to keep arising. But right here, there's also a section in which you can kind of just use the small pieces of light on these platforms to get across here. You're not supposed to get across here, but you can. And the only way to get back to the side that you need to be on is by dying. However, dying during a cutscene in this game has zero impact. The cutscene will just keep going. You will not lose any time. You can literally do whatever you want as long as this cutscene is happening, and it will not affect the sphere in any way, shape, or form. If we find a way to skip this cutscene, thank God, but currently we don't have anyway, because we kind of just have to wait for this door to open so that we don't get engulfed by shadow. But that's what it looks like when you die. I mean, well, you already saw that at the beginning, so. Right here, we're just waiting for Virgil to stop talking to James, so that we can just walk across here and go up to level 11. If you heard, if you had like a keen ear earlier, you saw that there was a Portal reference in which, like he said, we treat our inanimate object with respect, unlike this monster's aperture science. That is the first of like 3 Portal references that we see in this game, which is really nice. And so in level 11, it's another cycle-based level in which these platforms and the shadows beneath them will move back and forth. There was a small part in my speedrunning in which, for some reason, I would just like not be able to get the exact supposed to jump over the shadows. But like, there's really no reason why you should have too much difficulty with this level, because like there's no way for you to like speed up the cycles, and there's no way for you to like, no matter how hard you try, like it feels like you should be able to get a fast cycle, but you just can't. And so there should be no real reason for you to like speed up your movement too terribly much. We're going to be shining that lamp as it's moving back and forth across that across this platform. We're going to shine it in this direction so that we can just move with the light. And as soon as we get into level 12, we're going to be performing another skip in which you can just retry, and you have skipped like a 30-second cutscene. The reason that works is because you are able to excuse me, thank you. The reason that works is because every single puzzle has like a designated start and stop point for when you reset. So like when you reset checkpoint, you'll be sent back to the start point. And the start point for this particular puzzle is right before the actual puzzle itself, and not like at the very beginning of the level. So you don't have to like watch that cutscene. You can just immediately skip it, which is nice because you mess up or die on the puzzle, you don't have to watch the cutscene again. Because the start point is where the game will like respawn you most of the time.
My name is Ellen, and things here are...
So right here, we're going to grab this lamp, and everyone say hi to Ellen. We got introduced to Ellen. She is like the voice of reason in this game. A very nice contrast in comparison to like Virgil and stuff like that. But we're going to be, every time you see like this pinkish reddish area, that's how you know we're going to be talking to Ellen and seeing like her voice recordings. Voiced by Natalie Hitzel, amazing person who I've also had the pleasure of interviewing before. And so we're going to be walking across here, and we're going to be, as you can see here, there's a little bit of shadow here that we're going to be walking across, but it's not enough to kill us. You're probably wondering why, and I'm going to explain that later when it is a bit more appropriate to do so. But just keep that in mind, that there is a specific reason why like that shadow doesn't kill me, and like there's not enough shadow to do so. So right here, we're going to be walking across, and we're going to be doing another skip with these fans on level 14. we're going to be bringing this shadow, or this guy across here, and
Before I could do or say
boom.
anything, he just said it's
And as soon as we
what?
click this button to move the fan again, we're going to be lining ourselves up at the very, very edge of this
I wish I'd
fan so that we can move with it but not be pushed off the platform when we hit the button.
Arthur.
And we're going to be shining this lamp towards us. And since we moved with the fan, we're able to skip some platforming and some puzzle solving, some lamp placements and stuff like that, and just immediately go to the end because that lamp is shining on that ramp over here. And then we have to bring that, the second lamp in order to shine across this catwalk.
People like that.
So yeah, this is the end of the first section in which we're going to be meeting Ellen. Ellen is going to come back later, so don't worry.
How did you get all the way over there?
That's a great question, Virgil. I have no idea. And so we're going to be using the full cone of light of that lamp in order to shine into both of those sensors. There's technically a skip here that we could use, but we never really had a solid ruling on whether or not it should be allowed and no major glitches or not. And so I am choosing not to use it. Here on out, from like level 14 onwards, or sorry, level 15 onwards, it is like some of the best movement in the game. It is like some of the most beautiful movement in the game. And it's probably my favorite part of the run. We're going to be doing a skip right here. We're going to be shining this light. And we're going to be taking advantage of the fact that when you pick up a lamp, it just snaps ahead of you. You don't have to like turn it or anything like that. And we're going to be shining the lamp ahead of us and jumping onto the light before the door closes and the shadow kills us. And so right here, we're going to be shining this light onto this sensor. And then walking across here, shining the light onto the sensor again. You always want that sensor to be on and like have light on it. You want to walk across here and walk forward with the lamp and make sure that it does not shine off of that sensor until you walk through the door, because otherwise the door will close and Virgil will laugh at you. And then in level 18 and 19, it has pretty much the same skip but used in two different ways. We're going to be, first of all, bringing this lamp across, shining it forward, and then shining this sensor across to bring that lamp here. Boom, shining that here. And now we're going to be taking this lamp and we're going to be lining it across with these outlets right here. And we're going to be shining it in a very specific direction so that we can just boom, boom, boom. Exactly. There's just barely enough light on that table in order to not die from the shadow and just skip a lot of the puzzle solving. And we're going to be skipping all of the puzzle solving in this section by doing the exact same thing but with these pipes. Ooh. So these two jumps in particular are really, really finicky. They're like the hardest jumps in the game, honestly. We're going to be trying that again. Ooh. Okay, perfect. That's like the hardest jump in the game. We're past it, and so it is much more precise than it looks. The timing is it's very difficult to pull off. And so now we're going to be shining this lamp across here, and we're going to be doing another skip here in level 20, a very smaller one in terms of like the actual like performance of it. And so we're going to be grabbing this lamp. And one thing about lamps in this game is that you do not have to be on the same like height plane as it. You just have to be within grabbing distance. So we're going to use that to our advantage by bringing this lamp up with us. Usually you would have to like bring the lamp up and down that platform that goes up and down when you shine the sensor and unshine it and then like take the light off the sensor and all that jazz, and it just cuts out a lot of back and forth movement. We're going to be shining this lamp onto that wall over there, and then because as soon as we shine this lamp onto that sensor, this wall will come down and allows the lamp to shine across our feet. And we're going to be strafing with the lamp, not just once, but twice in this level. And the funny thing about that, during playtesting, it was actually something like that casual players didn't know that they could do. Like, they didn't think to do that in like the puzzle solving. And so that is something that's very interesting, especially because you do it twice in that level, and that's the first time you do it. One thing that I forgot to mention about lamps is that like you can't jump when you have a lamp in your hand, and you move slightly slower. So that's part of the reason why we want to avoid using lamps as much as we possibly can. but now level 21 is just a transitional level between 20 and 22. However, when we come back here, we're going to be using a very interesting skip. Technically, a dev-intended skip, if you will. But that's going to be in level 23 because 21 and 23 share the same map. But right here is level 22, which is the longest level in the game. Oh, I jumped a bit too early. That's unfortunate. But level 22 is the longest and biggest level in the game, with the exception of the very last level. The reason I say that is because this is kind of... Oh, actually, you want the lamp to shine kind of like that. We're going to be coming back to this section later. That's why. And so... with level 22, it is the biggest puzzle in the game. Because the the very last level is not like a puzzle; it's like just a huge escape sequence and stuff. And so right here, we're going to be again this lamp shining across there, and then climbing upwards and doing the top floor. The bottom floor was 2 lamps on 2 platforms going back and forth, but on this lamp. Or on this floor, it is 2 lamps across 4 platforms that are going in a full rotation. And so while they are similar puzzles, they have very different solutions. And one interesting thing about this level is that it was actually one of the few levels that was designed top-down using Legos in the development process in order to give the developers a full scope of what the puzzles were. And so that's an interesting tidbit that you can hear about actually in the developer's commentary of the game, which is another reason why I highly recommend you should go and buy it, because the developer's commentary is incredibly interesting. I listened to the whole thing. It is a beautiful, beautiful dev's commentary. Virgil says, see you on the other side because the elevator that comes here and saves us, but instead we're going to drink a bunch of coffee because there's so much coffee in this room. And the elevator crashes because game has the plot, and we have more speedrun to do. Instead, we're going to be enjoying these wedding photos. I don't know who this is of, and I don't know whose dog this is, but this is Lux the cat. You probably, if you had a keen eye for Lux the cat, you saw him earlier. But he is an actual cat you can see later sometime in the game, which, if that alone isn't enough incentive to go buy this game, I don't know what is. But yeah. Perfect. Now we're going to be going across here, and we're going to be talking to Ellen again. There's a bit of a lore update in which Ellen finds out a lot of stuff about Arthur, which is Virgil's partner, although we never really see Arthur in the game, and how Virgil and Arthur are trying to sabotage light matter in order to essentially do their own schemes. If you want a little bit more of a detailed explanation as to the plot, I recommend playing the game. It's a really good writing as well. Everything about this game, especially being it for a small studio and an indie project, it is incredibly impressive. So I highly recommend. I know I've said it a billion times, and I know I'm a broken record, but I highly recommend picking this game up because it's beautiful. And now we're going back to level 23, and we're going to be turning on developers commentary. And as soon as we get this developer's commentary file, we're going to be turning developer commentary back off. Just because I don't want to listen to the dev's commentary for the rest of the run. Instead, we're just going to listen to the nice voice acting, because we tend to keep them on for the rest of the run, just because it's cool to show off. But what that just did was that this door that I just entered, this area, this elevator, oh no, just a door, I suppose. It doesn't actually elevate you anywhere. And so there is a voice line that Virgil says that only when that voice line ends does that door open. However, if you grab a developer's commentary file, the devs are just like, well, if you grab the commentary file, Virgil gets interrupted, and so he never finishes the line. And so instead of having you wait through the entire commentary file for the door to open, they just open the door automatically. And so it is technically a dev-intended 20-second time save, which is amazing. So shout out to the devs at Television Games for that. And so right here, we're going to be introduced to orbs on a stick, or as the game calls them, photon crystals. And so these orbs, you can, as long as one of them is within the line of a mother source, you are able to essentially connect a bunch of orbs right back to back to back, as long as they're within eyesight of each other. And so right here, you can obviously triangulate some light sources, or you can just use a bunch of connections in order to solve puzzles. That is technically the intended way to solve these puzzles, but we're going to be really pushing the limits as to how much we can like push limits of these connections. As you can see right here, if a beam turns red like that, that means the connection is about to break, because if you keep moving, they will no longer be within eyesight of each other, and they're eventually just going to break connection. We really pushed limits right here because we wanted to connect these two orbs. The way that we just connected them is not the intended way, according to the puzzle, but it allows us to skip a little bit more puzzle solving and a little bit more placements right here. We're going to rail grind across here. Rail grinding was something that happened earlier, but I didn't really have time to explain. I'm going to explain it a little bit more in detail, but it's pretty much the exact same, pretty much what it looks like. You grind across a rail, but it's hard because whenever you're on a rail, the game constantly tries to like push you like off on either the left or the right side, and so you kind of just have to balance yourself. Level 26. It is a very interesting level, and right here is probably the most appropriate time for me to explain why sometimes Shadow doesn't kill you, in very specific instances, because it's going to happen here in this level. But it's also the first example of a moving mother source that you can move back and forth on this platform. We're going to be bringing this orb right here, putting it on this corner, taking this orb and pushing it across the fence so that it connects to the mother source over here. And as you can see right here, we can grind across this rail, but there's no light on it. So why am I still alive? It is because the way that this game tracks Shadow is that there are like invisible points across the player's feet, around the player's feet, and enough of those points have to be covered in shadow in order for the player to die. However, for some reason in that specific spot and a few other spots in the game, not enough of points are covered up in order for the game to kill you. For example, like if you like leaving a little bit of a gap between shadows, that is enough for you to walk across, because not enough of your body is covered in shadow for you to actually kill you, which is nice mechanically, but it is not how the shadows are described in the game. In terms of like the canon and the story. In the canon and the story, any amount of shadow that you touch will kill you instantly. But not for the sake of the mechanics or the speedrun or how the game actually tracks you in the shadow. Level 27, there's not much to explain. You just go around in a circle twice, and if it looks like a lot of the puzzles are me going back and forth or in a circle, it's because I know what I'm doing and I know like the actual solutions to these puzzles and how to do them fast. But it's a level that we call like an auto walker, because there's really no way for you to speed it up. Level 28 is another interesting skip here. We're going to be placing this orb right here and moving this bridge or this platform out of the way. And now we're going to be connecting these two photon crystals so we can take this orb out of the room. And this particular orb we're going to be putting on the very corner right here. The closer to the corner you can get it, the better. And we're going to be boom, and now moving this guy across, moving this guy right here. And because we put that orb in the very corner, we're able to connect it right here. Just barely have enough space to climb across and jump on that little sliver of light and essentially skip majority of the puzzle solving there without dying. And if you had really keen ears, on the left side of your headphones, you might have heard Still Alive from the Portal series playing on a little radio station. So that's the second Portal reference in this game. Level 29 is a level that really does not have much to be said about the actual speedrun itself, because it's the intended solution but fast. No one, for some reason, no one really likes level 29, even though it's not the only level in which you do the intended solution but fast. But it's just like the longest level in which you do the intended solution but fast, and it's just not that much fun in the speedrun. It's kind of boring. But one interesting thing about level 29 is that there is a way to beat it faster, but it's only actually possible in ILs, and it's not because of like an incredibly like hyper specific or hyper like precise trick or anything like that. It's because there's this thing called object displacement or prop displacement, in which like you can immediately exit the menu and then restart the level like in incredibly quick succession, and then everything else in the level will move back to its main position, but you will stay in the position in which you restarted level. And so with that funny trick in the game, you were able to find a way to beat this level faster, but it's only possible in ILs because since you exited the game and then retried, the game thinks that you're in level 1. Like it says on the top right corner that I'm in level 29. If you perform that glitch, it will think that you're in level 1. And so the next loading zone that you enter, the game will wrong warp you to level 2. And that is possible for every single level in this game. So technically, you can beat the level faster, but you cannot perform it in the full run just because of that limitation. And so level 30 is another level that is the intended solution to fast. However, this is a level that you can often just like go on autopilot because you want to move, because you need to move this platform a lot of times, and you need to remember where to take the orb off and put it back on. And so it's just something that you need to be really paying attention to because it's easy to just not to just go on autopilot right there. So, now that we're past level 30, right after this orb right here, we're going to go into level 31, and it is another like transitional level with a small cutscene. There's no puzzle in it. However, once again, the game is going to tell us that all we have to do is walk across a bridge. Then we're going to go to safety, and that this has to be like the right time. And there's no way that the game is going to fake us out for the 4th time in the game and tell us that we can leave when in reality there's actually more puzzle left and there's more game left, right? There's no way that that's going to happen. You know? Wow, that happens. Small sip of my energy drink. And we can just walk across this bridge and go to safety. Except we don't, because why would we? In this section, you're meant to fall from a large height that is almost certainly supposed to kill you, but it doesn't. Instead, you just walk slightly slower. And the game like acts like you're injured and all that jazz, but then you just walk it off because as soon as you enter level 32, you are right back at your normal walking speed. And so now we're going to boom, and we're going to be performing another really cool glitch right here, in which we're going to, or a really cool skip right here, in which we're going to really push the limits as to these connections. We're going to be putting this orb right here, and then bring it across. Excuse me, thank you. And we're going to be connecting it on the other side. We're going to be doing a little bit of a saber strat in which we like straighten the line between, because we want to bring this orb all the way to the other end. You can do that without like readjusting the orbs. However, it is precise, not really that safe, and honestly, like the safe strat of just adjusting the orbs doesn't really lose that much time, so I don't really recommend going for it unless you for some reason want an incredibly optimized world record or time or PB. We accidentally fell off there, but we're going to be doing a rail grind again, but this time rail grind is really fast, because oftentimes if you rail grind off of a moving platform, sometimes you can preserve the momentum that you get from the moving platform as you rail grind across. And so sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. If you want to line it up really well, you can do it. But of course, the more time you spend on the platform itself, the more time you lose. So it's a give or take situation, or give and take situation. And so right here, it is another transition level, 34. There is a lot of lore drop right here, but I forgot what all the lore is. Ellen is lore dropping, but we don't have time for that because we need to actually play the game and move along with all these buttons that we need to press. However, I will say that this is a huge flashing lights warning. The entire screen is about to turn really bright, so if you're playing or if you're watching this in a dark room or you're prone to epileptic seizures, I highly recommend looking away as this cutscene plays out. And I'll like tell you when it's good to look again.
Do you remember when I told you about the power of light matter? You are currently quadrupling that power.
All right. All right, you can look back now. You can look back. It's now dark. It's over. So, now we learn that not every shadow in the game is scary. These shadows are meant to not kill you. Specifically because only like the tar-like shadows, or the shiny shadows, as I put them, these shadows over here, those are the ones that will kill you. And so we're just going to be going across here and going straight into level 35, is back to the puzzle solving, or in our case, back to the skipping of puzzles. Unfortunately, this puzzle you do actually have to solve the intended way, but fast. We haven't really found a skip for it. However, there is one final portal reference in this room. If you look to the left side of your screen right now, you can see a turret and a weighted storage cube in that room that we just grabbed this orb from. And so a very cute reference right there. And this game actually like canonically takes place in the Valve universe, or the Portal universe, because like they got like a blessing from Valve themselves, and there's like a special thanks to Team Valve in this in the special thanks in the credits. And so this game does take place in the Portal universe, believe it or not. And so right here, we're going to just perform a really cool skip, actually, in which we're going to be boom. We're going to be putting this lamp on here. We wanted to move forth in order to reset a checkpoint, because like when we move back, because otherwise we'd have to like reset all this up again, like so. But this is level 36 skip. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes let's see how the game feels like treating us today. Okay, as soon as you like get stopped right there, just fall down. You have to try again. Essentially, what the skip is after you roll around at the very end here. Sometimes the game feels like being nice and like just pushing you up onto the platform with the lamp. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's really inconsistent, and we don't know what causes it, but just the game just feels like doing it to you sometimes. I'm gonna try it. Actually, I'm not gonna try it again. We got things to do. So, unfortunately, we didn't get it. I've only gotten it first try once in a run. In like a, and I mean that in like a I mean that in like a marathon run. I would never like go for it in a PB, especially if like the if it's like a really good pace PB. Like it's just not worth the effort, in my opinion. Not worth the risk, I should say. So this is a puzzle in which you can solve in multiple different ways. The way that we're doing it right now is, of course, the objectively fastest one, in which we're going to be then putting this lamp over here and making sure that we have one orb on each side in order to always have a connection between the two. And what level 36 skip was supposed to do is it was supposed to bring us to right here. Like both the lamp and the orb would have already been on this side of the map. And so we can just skip immediately to this. It would have skipped all of that puzzle solving, all of those placements, say around 20 seconds or so, if done really cleanly. And so that's unfortunate we didn't get it, but you know, we gotta move on. And so level 37 is another level that you can actually solve in multiple ways. But of course, we're going to be solving it the fastest way, and it's also not one of the ways in which it's intended to be solved. So we're going to be placing this orb right here on this line, perfect, and then bringing this across here. We're going to be shining this lamp onto the sensor that brings this bridge across the other side, this sensor right here, and so that this bridge stays on the left side. We want the connection between these two orbs right here to be not white, not red, but pink. And just barely, almost about disconnect, right? And so we're going to be bringing this across and shining this lamp across that floor over there. We're going to be moving this lamp and having it hang, or moving this orb and having the orb hang off of the bridge so that the sensor isn't lit up and that the floor underneath us doesn't like go away. And then that is the end of level 37. There's one level left, level 38. It is the longest level in the game. It is around 8 or 9 minutes long, depending on how fast we are. And the first thing we're going to do is retry level, because it allows us to skip an elevator cutscene that is around 2 minutes long, similarly to how we did in level 12. However, we skip one 2-minute cutscene, but we still have to sit through another 2-minute cutscene here at the very end. So, and get out some snacks. This is going to take a minute. Usually, I would like reserve this time for donations, but of course, this is really long time. And so instead, I can talk about how I really got into this run. It was like around AGDQ 2021. I stayed up Monday night because I wanted to watch a Pikmin 2 speedrun. But instead, before Pikmin 2 came a run of this game by a guy named Bobby Berm. Shout out to Bobby Berm. He's currently 3rd place right now, but he was 2nd at the time. And he was really fun, and I don't know how to like describe it, but for some reason I fell in love with this game immediately. I could not tell you why. I don't know what it was about this game. They made me immediately want to speedrun it, but the next day I bought it. I played it 3 times casually, and then I started speedrunning it by Wednesday of that week. And so I was really like excited to speedrun this game, and it's the first game that I say that got me really into speedrunning, because it just immediately got me into the sport, got me into the art, and it just attracted me in a way that I could not describe why I liked it so much. So with that being said, now we're here with Ellen. She's telling us that we need to overpower the core in order to shut down light matter and foil Virgil's plans. Foil Virgil's plans. And she's going to shut down all the cameras and stuff like that. As she's saying right now. She's talking right here. That is what she looks like in the cartoony version of this game. And so, yeah. Now we're going to go straight into level 38. After that cutscene. We're going to turn on the core and turn on that laser to overload the core, and now we're going to actually proceed with the rest of the level. So there is no puzzle solving in this level. It is just a really long escape sequence, in which a lot of it is actually based off of fast cycles. For example, we're going to go into a fast cycle later here in the game, or later here in the run, right in this first room with all of these fan shadows. If we're fast enough, it looks like we can get this fast cycle right here. Perfect. One thing about this level is that it is so big that it is the only level that it is not loaded in like all at once. It is loaded in chunks. And so just because you miss like one fast cycle does not mean that you're going to miss the next fast cycle. But just because you make one fast cycle does not mean you're going to make the next fast cycle either. And so they're all independent of each other because they're not all loaded in at the same time. And so getting this fast cycle, however, allows us to get the fast cycle for these platforms over here. Perfect. Or sometimes it just hangs across here like that.
Not now, Lux.
Perfect. You can just go across here. And now we're going to do a few more fast cycles across here. And get this fast cycle. Perfect. And can we get the fast cycle down here? Amazing. I wonder whose fastest these are. And now we're going to, I am going to do a little bit of a, like flashing lights warning, because every time that we pull a lever in order to overload the core, we're going to be getting a huge flashing light at the end. And so, at the end of it. So we should be able to get the fast cycle on the other side here, because we managed to get all those pretty quickly. But every time that we overload the core right there, we like just see a huge. This one isn't that bad. So every time that you see me pull one of those levers, I'm gonna like restate flashing lights warning, but like just be aware. I'm gonna go across here, and since we pulled that lever pretty quickly, we're able to get this fast cycle. Oh no, we didn't. We were almost able to, but thankfully it just respawns right here, so not too much of a time loss. And now, at this point, Virgil has found out what we're doing, and he's actively trying to kill us. However, he's just too slow. We're too fast. Because, as you can see, he's trying to like cover us with shadows by moving a lot of really slow-moving objects, but it doesn't affect us at all. And our identity has kind of changed a lot throughout the game, and now we are a spy. Virgil has changed our identity from like a tourist to a journalist to a health inspector to his assistant, and now we are a spy. Our identity never actually gets answered in the game, but that ambiguity is one thing that I kind of like. In this room, it is a very interesting room because we get to skip like half of it. Shout out to our glitch hunter Ralcor. Every now and again when we think he's done with finding glitches in the game, he comes back like 6 months later and he's like, I found this thing that saves like 10 seconds. And then we're like, wow, why have you not given up on this game yet? But he found this thing where we can just jump across these pipes because there's no kill plane programmed into them. It should kill you, but it doesn't. And you're able to just skip a lot of the room, and if you're really quick with like the cycle of the fans like we were there, you're able to land on that little piece of light before it gets covered up, or before the fan pushes you to the side. Now here's a really, really, really huge flashing lights warning. It's getting really bright, like right now. Look away, I promise. I will tell you when to look back. And right here is also the worst attempt at a kill in like human history. That was meant to go on top of us, but his aim is really bad. So we can just go across here, and now we can go across here, and we're going into the last few rooms of the game. And one thing you actually want to avoid like these little like striped patterns on the edges, because they go with like ledge grab animations, and that's just kind of annoying. But unfortunately, you can't avoid all of them. Here in this like orange, yellowish, brightish room, we're going to be doing a little small skip in which let's grab onto that and skip a little bit of platforming. And then right here, this is technically the last room that actually has like a lot of gameplay and a lot of cycles to it. Time is going to come up in like 2 minutes or so. So right here we're going to be jumping down, and a few more cycles to go before we get into the last room. We'll only like go across this platform right here. They won't start until we get to this section. There is a small area in which or a small time in which we thought like there was a bit of a faster cycle, but there is not, which I'm very glad, because the fast cycle that we thought was faster is very precise to do and very annoying, especially when you're this far into the run and you mess up on it. But it is confirmed to not be fast, to a more safer route, or a safer route, I should say. And now we're just going to go across here and do one last cycle. Perfect. And that is basically the end of the run. Time is gonna end in about a minute as we go across this platform. And at the very end here, we are introduced to James, who is like Virgil's real assistant and has been talking to him through the phone throughout the majority of the run. He is right there, that mountain of a man. He is here to what we think is like support Virgil and kill us. But he actually is here to foil Virgil's plans, because he has a mind and heart of his own in which he rebels against his boss, as we all should. And so, right here, we're just rebel against the power, guys. Fight the power. As this marathon is called. Look at that. But yeah, time is going to end when I pull the lever at the very end of this catwalk. So, Thank you so much to Really Really Long Time for having me show off this game. It's a really good game, and I highly recommend checking it out on your own time. It's like $15-$20 on Steam or so, so I recommend check it out. And time. So 4706 IGT, pretty decent. I imagine that's like a 47 something, or like a high 47, or maybe like a 46 something, 48, like RTA. I know that like the loads and stuff are not like that long or strenuous, and so it could be a very similar, like a very comparable time. Overall, really decent, really good. Still around like 2.5 minutes off my PB, which it's like understandable. It's noticeable. It's like to be expected, really. But yeah, it's a light matter. There is a demo on Steam if you want to check this out. It is the first 14 levels, and I highly recommend checking it out because it's absolutely amazing. $15 on Steam, if I remember correctly, the full game. And we're a very small speedrunning community. We share a channel in like the main Discord server, like the devs Discord server. You can access it directly through the game right here, and also through the website and through the Steam page, and through src.com, or SRC, I should say. And so yeah, that is all for Light Matter. We have one last game up on this puzzle platformer or mind-bending block, and that is Superliminal. I typically show off all collectibles, but today we're going to be showing off Glitchless, which is a much more approachable, much more beginner-friendly, and much more chill category. So we're going to use that to cool down with this puzzle block for the day. But yeah, stay tuned for one last run. I'm super excited to show that one off too. So.
Two, one, go.
All right, everyone. This is the last game of the puzzle platformer block that we're going to be showing off here. Really fight the power. So, this is Superliminal. It is another perspective-based puzzle game. And so, this is the community that I'm probably most involved in, and it is my main speed game. I would like to say that it is, because it's while Light Matter got me into speedrunning, Superliminal is the home that I found with the community, and the one that I've probably been the most involved in when it comes to community and the speedrun itself. Today we're doing Glitchless. If you've seen this at like large end marathons, you might have seen all collectibles, which is a much harder, much more glitched heavy category. But what we're going to be showing off today is much more chill and much more beginner friendly. And so everything, I would say, like everything that I'm doing, you can probably just do, maybe not at that level starting off the bat, but it's pretty easy to learn. And we have a huge tutorial series made by Samwise3S, shoutouts to him, on YouTube for glitchless specifically. And so this is the one that has been the most popular, just because of how beginner friendly that it is. And I highly recommend checking it out, especially if it's something that you want to speedrun for the first time, if it's your first speedrun ever, or you're just looking for something new. So with that being said, just going to start with induction. Timing does not begin when we enter the first level, but rather it'll begin when we walk through this first door. We're going to sign the terms of service for good luck, and just to double check, I'm going to make sure that the speedrun timer is turned on, because this game does run through IGT, and so we want that turned on so we can see what our time is without loads. So right here, we're going to be starting in 3, 2, 1, go. So superliminal, in this game, perception is reality. And what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that however big or however small an object is to you is however big or how small it like actually is. And so you can manipulate the size of objects to be bigger or smaller depending on how you perceive them. And a really good example of that is coming up later in this particular level. Sorry, my mic got in the way of that movement there. My goodness. And in this next room, I think is like the best example of that. Not this one, but we're going to be grabbing this chest piece, bringing it across here. And this particular piece of cheese on this desk, we're going to be grabbing it, and we're going to be resizing on this door frame to make it really, really big, like so, and using it as a ramp up here. So yeah, that is the best example of how the mechanic in this game works. This allows for a lot of really cool glitches in other categories, but in this particular category, it actually just allows for a lot of really cool skips and a really cool tricks that even glitchlessly, it is incredibly impressive to see and really, really satisfying to pull off. Induction in particular is a level that is incredibly reset heavy, not only because it's like the first level and just reset hell is a thing, but also because it's incredibly precise. Like it has a lot of really precise tricks, specifically in the glitchless category. Right here is an example of the game lining itself up perfectly for us when we move, when we line up, we like resize a sign against a wall and then line it up exactly so that it touches both buttons. It is perfect. Right here is, ooh, I was a little bit too late on that, but instead we're going to be doing the intended, or a little bit more intended mechanic of here, of grabbing this cheese and knocking down the door with it. The strat that I was trying to do was known as dairy free, in which you don't use the cheese, but rather when you press a button, a wall is scripted to like fall down, and if you push the wall before it finishes falling down, you can like move it, and so you don't have to use the cheese to like knock it down. It is not faster technically if you use the cheese perfectly, but it's a lot safer, and in my opinion, a little bit cooler to show off. And it only loses like less than half a second in a speed run, and so unless you're like really, really, really grinding for world record, you can just use the safer route and avoid many resets. So now we're going to optical, and as the name implies, it is all about optical illusions. In this first opening section, as you can see right there, there's an optical illusion with this hallway. We're going to be using this sign, and we're going to be using it as a ramp. We want to really make sure that it doesn't fall down. We want to bounce it across. Oop, excuse me. And now we're going to bounce across here. If I had voice lines turned on, you would hear the voice lines of Dr. Glenn Pierce, a therapist or doctor that is running the sleep therapy program that we're in, and has some questionable ethics when it comes to treating his patients. Right here, we're going to be doing a skip known as box jumping, in which you jump and then click to resize the box underneath you. That is, believe it or not, it was meant to be an intended mechanic. The devs didn't know about that, but they decided that it was like too complicated for like the casual player to figure out how to do, and so they decided to scrap it. Although it would have been cool to see what puzzles they would have come up with had that been a real thing. But instead we use it as an experience skip. So yeah, as you can see there, if you look at specific objects such as the cube that we use, the box jump, or that chess piece, you can make paintings turn into real objects, which is a really, really cool mechanic in this level. Hence the name Optical. And after going across this catwalk, there's the room that we were in earlier, the sign, putting it into a ramp. And now we are going to do what any natural person would do. And we're going to be grabbing the moon. There's the exit sign on the moon. We're going to be resizing it onto this thing, onto this lamp, and just walking out into the next room. And that is the end of the level. Every single level is going to end in like this hallway sequence where we find, where we like go through a hallway, and at the end of that hallway is in like an elevator. The majority of levels are going to end like that, except for the first and last one. Now we're going to go into cubism, and as the name implies, it's all about cubes. Before we get into the real meat and bones of cubism, we got to go through this small little hallway right here. It's very eerie because like the game is, as the game progresses, it's like being like, oh, you're grabbing further and further into the dream state, you might be unrecoverable. Like an Inception type thing, we're just going further and further into the dream state, you know, kind of thing. And now every single cube in this game, in this level, it is a weird cube that you think is going to be a normal cube, but then it shockingly turns into a different cube. There's only one normal cube in the level, and it's at the very beginning, but we skipped it by using like the pole to get onto the platform instead of the cube itself. And through this one, you think it's going to be normal cubes, but surprise, it's a funky cube instead. And now we're going to be going into this next room, in which you think it's going to be normal cubes again, but it's sliding cubes. I'm saying the word cube a lot today, in case you haven't noticed. With Manifold Garden and Antechamber, now this. Puzzle games are like obsessed with cubes. Anyway, you think those cubes are normal, but they're actually just sides of cubes instead. And you think that cube is going to be normal, but it's actually a bunch of tiny cubes. Or use the corner of it to make it to the end. And you think this cube is normal, but it's actually the exits to the level. You want to jump at the very end of that in order to walk backwards into the final hallway section, in which you can exit the level. So that is cubism. Now we're going straight into Blackout. And Blackout, in terms of like the actual speedrun itself, at the very least in glitchless, there's not a lot or too much to say about it. Instead, what we're going to be doing is focusing on the perception is reality motif, except in this level it kind of goes into more of a metaphorical sense. As you can see right here, starting now, the game makes loud sounds and makes you think that like the game is about to turn into like a horror game with flashing lights and like a little bit of creepy imagery, but it's supposed to like, again, take the whole perception is reality thing and put it on a more of a metaphorical sense, because it's only as scary as you perceive it to be. And so, like I said, we're going to go across here. This room is larger than you think it is, and it like expands in either direction. And so you can just go across it. And now what we're going to be doing is going across this bridge, and this bridge goes up, and you can use the right side of the bridge to just jump across the pit. There is that's not the intended way for you to get across it. There is a part of the bridge that goes all the way across, but if you know where the bridge is and where each part is, you know that there's enough space for you to just cross that right side. But as you can see that there was like a bunch of diet soda cans, but it was covered up to just say die, 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 die. And that chess piece was meant to be like a head. And so it's very creepy the first time you play it. And a lot of people get legitimately like terrified. Like I've seen a lot of people play this game casually, and they get legitimately terrified at this kind of game. This section at least. Right now what I'm about to do is Blind Maze, and hopefully I don't mess it up because I haven't done it in a while. Essentially what Blind Maze is, we're going to jump across here, and we're going to be using a specific visual cue. If you play out in the game on the lowest settings, quality settings, you can see there's a small line of like horizontal line of light that you can use to as a reference for your movement. And if you walk backwards into the maze, you can just walk through it without needing light. The intended mechanic, you're supposed to go to another room and grab a light source and then move through the maze through that light source with that light source. But if you just know what the maze is and you can use it as a reference point, you can use like a little sliver of light as your reference point. You don't have to grab the light source. You can just walk through the maze without looking. And now we're going to go into the end in which the lights turn on in the cafeteria. All the blood that you saw on the floor was actually just red paint. It's Sunday, so they serve beans because there was a sign that says for lunch we're serving murder, 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 and then on Sunday they serve beans. And today is Sunday, and so they're serving beans. And then all of like it's only as scary as you perceived it to be. There's no real threat, kind of thing. And now we're going to go into a level called Clone, and as the name implies, it's all about cloning objects, though ironically, the very first puzzle that you do does not involve cloning any objects, probably to set up your expectations for the level, and then, like, subvert them. Because when you play this game casually for the first time, it doesn't tell you, like, the names of the levels, right? So that's the first puzzle. We're going to change the radio station just because I feel like it. Now, I think that's radio station number 6. That's nice. Smooth jazz. As you can see here, that right there, every single object from here on out will clone. So we can use that for stairs, and we can use these radios in order to make a little bit of ramp, like so, up here. And as you have seen now, first of all, your cursor is your crosshair is a little smiley face. Say hello. And you can keep the smiley face if you look up during that section. And you probably noticed that at this point, the like rules for cloning objects in this game are not consistent. As you can see here in this room, the red apples just drop to the floor the moment that you clone them. But you saw in the green apple room that I was able to physically pick up a green apple and then, oh wow, that's never happened before. I wish I could say that that's something that was good, but I've actually never made that mistake before. Look at that. It had to have happened at some time, so why not now? But as I was saying, in the green apple room, I was able to physically pick up the green apple, and only after I let it go and pick it up again did it clone. And so the rules change depending on just what the puzzle needs. And so it's not really like a consistent thing. But since we as speedrunners play this game all the time, we know what rules apply to which objects, and so it's not really like a problem for us. All right. Now we're going to go straight into the ending section of Clone, in which we get to mentally prepare for the next level, which is Dollhouse, which in like other categories, not that bad. In glitchless, bad. Particularly because it is the level with probably the most precise movement and the more precise and finicky mechanics that are being like used. And so if like especially for beginners, this is probably the biggest reset point in the run. It is the run that is the run in which my goals are probably like the least like optimized. And so right here, we're just gonna go straight through this theater room. It's a beautiful theater room, but we don't have time to watch the movie. We got a speed run to do. We got a level to complete. And in this particular level, Dollhouse, we're introduced to another mechanic in which we're going to resize the actual physical portals that we're going to be walking through. For example, in this room, we have this house in which we're going to be resizing the portal to walk through it. And since you're resizing the portal, in effect, you're also technically resizing yourself. Because if you make the portal like too big, the bigger the portal you make, the smaller you're going to be when you walk through it. And the reason that that's important is because if you make the portal too big, you're going to be really small on the other end of it, and you're going to be walking really slowly, and so you don't want that. But if you make the portal too small, oftentimes the portal on the other end, in order to exit the room, requires you to be smaller. And so like you might be too big if you make the portal too small and you're not get through the other side, which is arguably a worse time loss depending on how big or how small you make yourself. And right here, we're going to be taking the span. We're going to be playing Jenga the totally intended way. And after that, we're going to be using this window and walking through it. And every time you see a room like this with the door in the middle, happens, which I don't like. I was trying to avoid it, but alas, what can you do? And now we're going to be resizing it and putting it on this plank. And so we can just, boom, enter. Strat. Oh my god, I've never seen that disappear before. Where we just, boom, and walk through the portal as it's falling down through the key. Resize this guy on the keyhole and walk through it at the very end. Just walk through the final hallway. And that is it with with Dollhouse. And yeah, it was, I played it safe, so it wasn't like the fastest, but it was a little bit clean, so we take those. But now we're gonna go into Labyrinth, which is the second longest run, second longest level in the run. The last one being White Space, which is the very last one. Right here, you're going to see me do what looks like meaningless parkour. However, it does have a lot of meaning to it, a lot of very important meaning to it, because what you're seeing me do, there's audio triggers. There's audio triggers that activate audio lines throughout this hallway. There's 5 of them, and you want to get to the very last one as quickly as possible. And so in order to save time, we have found ways to actually like skip 2 of them. Skip 3 of them, but only skipping 2 of them saves time. And we do that by actually physically jumping over the audio triggers, like we just did right there. And so as soon as that elevator opens, that's when you know the last audio trigger is activated. And the reason you want to get to this one as fast as possible is because as soon as this one ends, you're able to just immediately teleport to the next part of the level, and you can just go on with the run. And so instead of doing that, you don't have to sit through all 5. You can just skip 2 of them, and it saves a significant amount of time. I made a video on it on my YouTube. If you want to check it out, just look up like ozmourn audio skip or something like that. It's a really good video. I'm really proud of it, and it shows the exact time save about each different combination of like the audio skips that you could do. Right there, I lined myself up perfectly so that my horizontal positioning changed, my vertical position didn't, and so I could just spam the alarm clock as soon as I got into the room. Right here is a frame perfect trick. Get it? Because we went through the frame perfectly. Shout outs to Hippienator, who came up with that joke, and I steal it and use it every marathon run that I do. He's great. So right here, oh, I didn't grab that door early. You want to grab that door early, like through the door frame, so that it falls down, because this door is on a timer in which like you won't be able to like go through it until like that sign falls down. And so unfortunately we're able to get it early, but it's fine. Labyrinth, pretty much the rest of this level is all about subverting expectations. For example, this there's a this guy right here, you're supposed to like line yourself up with it. You think it's going to be turned into a real object, or like these stairs, you think you're going to go up, but surprise, you're going to go down, because what else would you do with stairs? I was about to turn that fire alarm on because I am used to all collectibles movement, but we're doing glitchless today. If you want to see all collectibles, go check out my other runs, or just play the game yourself. I highly recommend that too. This right here is the hardest puzzle casually, mainly because it doesn't really give you a lot of direction. You're supposed to look the opposite direction of where the sign is telling you to go, because whichever way you look first is going to have stop, do not enter, and the second way you look is going to have a door. And so the second way, the way that you look, the door you should always have the door on the direction that the arrow is facing. Oop, God, please, I beg of you. And we can just use that cube to go all the way through the middle of that pool room. You want to grab it as you're like going up to the second level, because like otherwise it's going to disappear and you have to use the second cube and just waste time. The rest of this section is just us going through a bunch of different areas in which every time that you touch a new cube, it teleports you to a new area, like so. And as soon as you go down here, we're going to be going to what's called elevator maze. We have a specific pattern to go through elevator maze. It is back, left, right, left, back. Boom. That is the fastest way that we have discovered to go through elevator maze. A lot of people think that going through that maze is RNG, but like the intended solution is just supposed to be like following, like getting lost and then following arrows on the floor that'll lead you to where the end is. But we do have an objectively fastest way to get through it, and that was it right there. And this area, as soon as you activate all of the walls, you don't have to be. It's a parking lot. You think it's an endless parking lot, but it activates all the walls. You don't have to be facing the walls to activate. And as soon as you do, you can just click the alarm clock from really far away. We're going to be grabbing the clinic through this little gap right here and putting the portal into itself to cause a paradox, which is an intended plot point in the game. And so right here is usually a good time for me to talk about like the history of this game. It's like gotten really a lot of traction, especially because it's been shown off on IGN. Shout out to Loris Witt for their amazing run that was shown off on IGN. Developers react to speedruns. Shout out to the developers for really supporting us and the speedrunning community by having like an in-game timer, or also Albert Shi. When we had a tournament, we were really fortunate enough for him to come in and be a guest commentator for the tournament finale, and so a lot of really cool stuff coming from the developers of this game, and how supportive they were us and the speedrunning community as a whole. So shout out to Albert Shi, William Floyd, and all of that, all those amazing people. Right here, we're going to be doing a strat in which we reset checkpoint. The simple answer to that is that like resetting a checkpoint makes us slightly bigger, and so since we're slightly bigger, we move faster throughout the run. The more complicated version of that is that the portals are all messed up in this game, in this particular level. And so when you did Paradox, you walked through a portal that puts you at size 0.98. And every single portal after this makes you slightly bigger too. So if you reset checkpoint after hitting the next checkpoint, it'll put you back to size 1. And so since you're slightly bigger, and since every portal afterwards will make you slightly bigger as well, you will move slightly more faster, or slightly faster throughout the level than you would otherwise. And so with that, it's a really simple trick that you can just reset checkpoint, and it saves like 2 free seconds. And so yeah, that's something that's a lot of fun. And so now we are going to walk through Windows 11 right here, or this window. And if we turn around, this window is actually also be able to use as a platform. We want to wait until we get around halfway through it so we can just do that. And at the end of this section, we're going to be turning off this flashlight, or turning off the lights, and your crosshair disappears, and like the game makes you think that the game is over, but it's not, because as soon as you turn off the lights, you can just walk backwards, and surprise, there are signs like that. And you need to make sure that your crosshair like goes over a sign, because your crosshair disappears, and if you do not like move your mouse and like have your crosshair touch a sign, your crosshair will actually never come back. It's still there, you can still pick up objects, but you just can't see your crosshair. And while of course it's the end of the run, if you're really good, it probably doesn't matter that much, but it's a little disorienting for you to try and pick up objects without actually seeing that the crosshair is there when you pick it up. And now this is the final like really cool strat of the game, in which we're going to pick up these chess pieces. And these tiles right here, they're only solid if a chess piece is on top of it. And normally you would have to like take 2 chess pieces and just alternate tiles, but this time we're going to be taking 1 chess piece, and as we jump mid-air, we're going to be moving the chess piece from one tile to the next. And so you can just do that without having to reset, without having to use 2 chess pieces. And right here, we're going to be using one final... Oh my god. Okay, that worked. That was a little bit finicky, more finicky than I would have liked. We're going to be box jumping with that block in order to get to that door right there. However, you saw that I fell down, but I did grab a checkpoint, which means that I could just reset checkpoint, and because like the checkpoint trigger is like right next to the door right there. And you can just reset checkpoint and save the run. This is what we call bitrate hallway, because it destroys your bitrate and goes through artifacting a lot. I should have given like a flashing lights warning, but it's too late now because we're already through. And now that's pretty much the run. We're gonna do a like fall here. It lasts a good bit. It's 23 seconds. It's exactly 23 seconds. And so at the end of this fall, we're going to fade to black, and then there's going to be a loading screen. At the other side of that loading screen, that is when time is going to be when it hits the alarm clock. And so at the loading screen, it should happen in 3, 2, 1, and time. That's 23:04.8 IGT. I would say maybe add like a minute RTA. That's probably around my time. Underestimate. Everything today has been underestimate. Really good for my standards when it comes to speedrunning stuff, especially because a lot of these games are stuff that I don't like really speedrun that much regularly anymore. But I always love showing off at marathons, and so I highly recommend checking out any of the games I showed off today. If you're into this genre of video games like I do, especially as speedruns, I cannot recommend most of it. I cannot recommend these games enough. They're so much fun. A lot of them are incredibly skill-based. Pretty much all of the speedruns that I've shown, except for Manifold Garden, are purely skill-based. Like there's low skill ceilings, low skill floors, high skill ceilings kind of things. And so I highly recommend checking them out if you're looking for like beginner-friendly runs, or just runs that you like, so where you're really involved and can really see yourself improve at a lot. And so that is pretty much it for me. Thank you so much to Really Longathon and your team for bringing me on for Really Fight the Power. Please support minorities. Please support your trans friends and your minorities, your minority friends, and check about how they're doing. And please support them by donating to Really Fight the Power and to this cause that Really Longathon is supporting. You're going along with, and so I highly recommend donating and supporting minorities in any way, shape, or form. And so check out your other DQ events and all that jazz. My name is ozmourn. You can check me out on twitch.tv/ozmourn. I stream very occasionally, although I'm very active on Twitter or in just marathon and speedrunning communities as a whole. And so I will probably see you around if I haven't already. And yeah, that is pretty much it for me. Again, thank you so much to everyone. I really Longathon for having me on, and I really enjoyed my time here. I hope y'all did too. Check out these games. They all have their speedrun.com pages, and they all have their discords. I'd be happy to help you with any of them. Shout out to all the communities behind this game. There's a bajillion people that I could shout out, but just general shout out to everyone in the communities for these games. So yeah, I think that's all. My name is ozmourn, and again, thank you so much to the folks that Really Longathon for having me on. I hope you enjoyed my presence and my time, and I will see all of you around. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope Really Longathon has a wonderful rest of their marathon, because it's a really good cause that they're raising money for. So yeah, I'm an ozmourn, and I'll see you guys around. I hope you have a wonderful night.